What's going on this time for real? I hope everyone's doing okay. It's been a pretty busy day for me. It's been a really good day, though, I will say that. Did not get a chance to kick it off at the usual time that we do for our new player tournament. And I'm a little sad about that, but there's more important things happening out there in the world right now that I felt like I needed to be a part of. So we're just doing all the replays that we got here in a minute. Let me get rid of all the ones that I've got loaded up here. And we'll drop all the ones from today in. I hope everybody is doing good, and I hope everybody is staying safe out there. For all of you here with me who might live in the US, you're well familiar with some of the more insane stuff that's going on right now. Okay. We're just going to start from here. Suga, who's been playing a lot of Kislev lately, actually going to be playing some Empire today, which is really fun to see. And playing into a Beastman, a new Beastman player, Immortal OG here, who's got Taurox, a Death Mage, probably on a Chariot with how small the rest of this army is. 2 Goreherd, 2 Bestigors, and the ROR Jabberslife, which is really cool. The Vorbakland Broodmother is pretty fun to throw around. Got some really, really fun abilities on it, you know, being able to Mortis Engine down units that are below 50% leadership is great, and then Searing Bileblood does a ton of damage in a radius around it on a really short cooldown. This thing actually gets a lot of value out of the out of its Bileblood abilities. The ROR gets an AP version. The standard Jabberslives have a non-AP form of this ability. And I believe that the standard Jabberslife has poison, not the armor sundering. Against the Empire, I don't really see the point in bringing the armor sundering Jabberslife. It's 400 gold more. The extra stats are nice. I just realized that it's on a large unit scale, which is a little bit bizarre. I guess they maybe agreed on this ahead of time, perhaps. Normally, the unit sizes are on Ultra, but it's not really that big of a deal. It just means that some of the Mortis Engine effects and abilities either do a little bit less damage or last a little less long, I think. Though it looks like the buffs last the same amount of time. Big damage going down on the Greatswords, dude. Massive work against these guys currently. That's the benefit of having the Jabberslives. They have amazing collision attacks against infantry, and they just feast upon stuff like this. You know, these AP infantry can actually be a little bit of a pain at times for Beastmen, especially ones that have armor. Because you can come in and bring Greatswords forward to scrap with Bestigor and actually get some decent value that way. It's just a nice little extra bit of cap weight. With some durability for the Empire that they sorely lack in State Troopers. Having a Jabberslife around to kind of assist in that regard can definitely benefit you as a Beastman player, but isn't really something that I would be looking for in the super expensive version that we got here. Just a standard Jabberslife would do about as much work, I would say. Pit of Shades going down on the Bestigor herd. Oh, Banishment, actually. Gonna be the Bound Banishment from Volkmar the Grim, nailing these Bestigors. Decent damage, but over here we get a Purple Sun of Xerius that's putting in way more work. Totally deletes this Spearman. A lot of damage on some of these Flagellant units. Looking real nice. 101 kills from that Bray Shaman already. Just running over stuff with the Chariot and then nuking people with the spells is a pretty nice little combo. But back here, we've got the Pistoliers in a very nice formation. Pretty good spacing on this. A little bit overlapped, but Suga with decent enough spacing on them to get most of them shooting at once, picking apart Torox, and the Vorbagland Broodmother taking massive damage. Down to about 2,000 from the 6,900 that it starts off with, since we're on the large unit size. Does have a little bit less. Still doing pretty good. Immoral OG is hanging on to the number 2 here. We do get some movement up onto the outside objective, the number 1 here, with some Chaos Warhounds. Outrider grenade launchers moving in should, even though they have fewer models, obviously, they still have plenty of damage output here to be able to wear out both these Goreherd in pretty short order. Won't be a very long fight. You can see the chunking damage from those grenades already really starting to work those guys down. And here in the middle, we do have a nice little pocket of Beastman infantry. With the Vorbagland Broodmother running over some of the Empire State Troopers here, we could see a break on all of these Spearmen and maybe the Greatswords. Flagellant's going to hold to the last, though, obviously. Very, very strong defensive capabilities on those guys just because they don't run away. They just sit and they grind. They may not trade out and get an uptrade for you, but Flagellants are usually pretty consistent at getting about 600-700 value, and that can be very important for Empire in quite a few matchups. Bray Shaman being chased off by Volkmar. What is going on with Volkmar here, man? He's blazing after this guy. A 63 speed Bray Shaman actually getting hit on the retreat from Volkmar and ends up shattering the poor Bray Shaman. Now turns around, Warhound's on top of him, but anti-infantry mount here for Volkmar, and then a beautiful cast on the Grand Soulfire. Taking out quite a bit of HP on the Warhounds, and they rout immediately there. And we've got Torox just desperately trying to escape from all the Pistoliers. Very bunched up Pistoliers. Definitely want to spread them out a little bit more, but not that big of a deal. Suga with a 3,000 gold value lead, finally able to get rid of the Jabberslife here. Obviously got rid of the caster. Some Warhounds also running away. And Torox is on his last legs there. Not really going to be up for a whole lot. The nice thing about Volkmar, yeah, he's taking a whole bunch of damage, but he just uses that Jade Griffin to heal himself back up. He's got a lot of room left to work with his HP pool. Obviously, still has quite a few of the abilities that he can be throwing down, you know. He's gonna only have one banishment left, but all the other bound abilities are theoretically infinite number of casts. You've got some Demigryph Knights out here with the Halberds doing some good work. Outriders have gotten about 800 value. Just poking away at all the Goreherd, obviously. Looks like some of the Goreherd moved down. Outriders took a little bit of damage, and I'm guessing that the Demigryph Halberds here were just mopping those guys up and protecting the missile pieces for the Empire here. Empire Knight unit moving up and going after the Warhounds on the number 1, and should make very short work of those guys. I need to go make sure that my settings didn't get changed. Not sure why it's on the large unit size instead of the normal Ultra. Amethyst Wizard out and running around. Does have Doom and Darkness, which is a good leadership debuff. It can actually really mess with the Beastmen, especially. Since Primal Fury is a very important tool for their infantry, pretty much every one of their units has Primal Fury. Pretty sure only the monsters and the minotaurs lack Primal Fury. Anyways, once you wear the leadership on Beastman units down below half, they can tear route just like any other unit can, and I believe they lose 5 melee attack and speed, charge speed as well, or charge bonus rather. Bringing a leadership debuff piece is a good call. I do like the Amethyst Wizard mixed in here. And with just Spirit Leech, you can use him to obviously bully some of the casters and maybe some big monsters that you don't otherwise have answers to. With maybe you're shooting, not having enough time to work them down, or just needing a nice, easy, safe method of poking. Pistoliers with great value here. Had a lot of ammo left at the end of the game, too. definitely the right call to tap out there for the Beastmen. An interesting game. This is just too small of an army. You don't need Bestigors against the Empire. It's overkill for taking care of state troopers. State troops just aren't gonna be able to grind into basic Beastmen infantry. Even stuff like Ungor Herd can put some pretty huge DPS down on those guys. And get pretty ugly quickly. Absolutely, man. I really wanted to do this stream at the regular time today, but there were other priorities that I needed to focus on. Like I said, lots going on. It's also my birthday today, so it's been a pretty surreal birthday so far, but it's been pretty good. And I'm happy to be here here in the afternoon to have some time to hang out with you guys and go over some games. Very excited for the new season kicking off tomorrow. I'm actually, I need to make sure that I'm signed up for that tourney. Where's it at? There it is. Season 12 launch stream. God, it's crazy to think how many seasons we've had on Total Tavern now. Okay, I am signed up for the tournament tomorrow now. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. 31 years young. Hopefully plenty more to look forward to, you know, it's, we'll see about the looking forward to it part. I'm generally pretty optimistic about things, though. Well, this is gonna be interesting. I think Mianlon was in the tournament last week, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they were playing Ogre Kingdoms, though. I can go back and check, I guess. But regardless, they're bringing in a very nice, solid Ogre Kingdoms build. This is generally what you kind of want to go for. Especially into Norska, I do really like the inclusion of the maxed out number of Pigback Riders. They are definitely not like the most insane unit in the game. After the nerfs, the Pigback Riders are a lot more reasonable in terms of their power level. It used to be that they could double their value, and that was just really gross, but now they're a little less overstuffed, and they're just a really nice supplemental tool for sticking underneath Ogre Bulls so they can actually fight factions like Norska who have tons of anti-large options with, like, Skin Wolves. You know, Pigback Riders can run in and occupy Marauder Hunter Javelins. I'd actually be able to beat a Hunter Javelin now that I'm thinking about it. They do have a lot more HP, a little bit more stats. They can definitely win on the charge. If they get a charge off, I think they'd very quickly clean up a Marauder Hunter. So there's a lot that they are able to do. Gonna struggle against Famir just because of the 110 armor on those things, but anything short of that, they'll be able to offer a very nice buffer for the Ogre Kingdoms. Got two Lead Belchers in the center of the formation here, and the Slaughtermaster with the Beast Magic is going to rock Flock of Doom. Bloody Cleaver here for the very slow heal. It's not amazing, the Bloody Cleaver, but it's better than nothing, obviously. Any amount of passive healing can really benefit a Lord or Hero. Might minimize the amount of times you're trying to cast your Meat Feast on your Lord and can instead focus it on some of the more impactful units that the Ogre Kingdoms have that can do a little bit better value trading. Just using Flock of Doom all game to wear down the infantry, and also, especially horsemen, cavalry, and hounds get wrecked by Flock of Doom. Anytime you can stack up a few units into it, you can get some huge value. The only nerf that Flock of Doom received this last patch was it got a much longer cooldown, up to 45 seconds from, I think it was like 25 seconds in the past, is how quick you could cast this thing again. It's crazy how often you could throw down Flock of Doom. doubles the amount of time that you have to wait thereabouts, and then also I believe it got a little bit less efficient on the overcast. Instead of being 11 WOM, I believe it's 12 or 13 now, actually. So the overcast is a lot less powerful than it used to be. Still very effective. You probably just want to undercast it onto as many targets as possible during the course of these games. Wolfric has Hunter of Champions and Seafang, get a lot of Marauder Spears. Bringing a bunch of Spearmen against the Ogre Kingdoms is definitely worthwhile, but you gotta be very careful of the positioning on units like this in the early going against the Ogre Kingdoms. Because of Lead Belchers, they just do obscene amounts of damage to infantry formations. Excuse me, guys. Bringing out a decent amount of mobility early for the Norskins here is going to be very important, so they can kind of flood the banks, so to speak. You want to put pressure into the backline of the Ogre Kingdoms as much as possible, and as quickly as possible, so they don't just run over you. They very much can do that if you're not careful. But you don't want to do it split like this. You want to basically just stay back, cap as many points as you can, 2 of them held right now by Norska, and then try and flank overload or force the Ogre Kingdoms to pay too much attention to one side of the battlefield, and then try and sneak a few units around the other side and get away from the Noblars and into stuff like the Lead Belchers with as little support available to those guys as possible. Lead Belchers are a very squishy unit. They fall apart pretty fast if they don't have any buffering. Get some pretty good movement here from Manlom, actually taking advantage of the positioning on the Noblars and Pigback Riders here to move in and intercept the Beasts of Tashnar as they get up into the Lead Belchers. You can see, though, that the Lead Belchers still took quite a bit of damage. Definitely not worth the dive there, unfortunately, for the Norskins, but it has consolidated the Ogre Kingdoms into a little bit of a blob here. You know, you've got some Marauder Hunters coming in. They can definitely get some Javelins online and maybe do some damage, but definitely need some protection from the Blood Vultures. Blood Vultures are a very annoying harass tool for the Ogre Kingdoms nowadays. Saber Tusk packs were already an annoying enough 500 gold mobility tool. Now you've got even more dangerous flyer overhead. Really the only thing that Blood Vultures struggle against are like the high DPS, high armor, counter-charging type of units. Heavy cavalry, ironically enough, Ogre Bulls would be a pretty good counter to the Blood Vultures. Stuff of that nature. The Blood Vultures are usually just there to countercharge whatever is trying to poke into your backfield. Since, you know, you've got lots of targets that you do need to be very careful of protecting. Norskins just getting a little too spread out, honestly. You've got this nice pocket over here with the Norskins all fighting together, and you can see they're having quite a good time out here on this flank. They've got a lot of bulls running. They've pushed back some Pigback Riders and regular Noblars, it looks like, but losing some Spearmen here now. The Marauder Hunter Javelins do, in fact, get run over by the Pigback Riders, and a few Ogre Bulls standing on top of those guys help to clean that up as well. Thankfully, Famir, with their great weapons, are in underneath the spears and should be able to deal with some of these dual-weapon Ogre Bulls. Definitely need to protect the Marauder Hunter Javelins, who definitely could do some massive damage if they're able to get out of here. It's just been so hard for them to escape up to this point. Manlom with a slight value lead, but Norska's sticking with this, and they do have a decent number of Skinwolves out now. If the Skinwolves can just stay away from Pigback Riders, you'll see more fights like this where the Bulls just get folded up on the charge. Skinwolves have great weapon strength, huge bonus versus large of 30. They will definitely beat the living hell out of these low armor Bulls, even without the armor sundering from the Famir. These guys really are only rocking a subpar 30. Not a whole lot that they're going to offer you in that respect. Got some spearmen getting hammered by the lead belchers. Lead belchers protected really nicely. One of them very low on HP. Still has 10 models though, throwing down some more DPS. And you can see without the support of their spearmen, Skinwolves just not going to be doing nearly as well as they would like to be. Maneater, great weapons in on them. Ogre Bull, Iron Fists. Just a ton of Ogre Bulls actually piled on top of these poor Skinwolves. They're holding in okay. They've got about not 800, about 500 value. Needing a lot more to really get the value trades going. They're going to route here, but not too terrible of a route. They'll be able to escape all of this pressure that's trying to run in after them. They have 19 models left. They should be able to regen a decent amount, and it should be fairly easy to save them as well. Premier great weapons with some spearmen looking to protect those guys. You can see the Ogre Bull, or the Maneater great weapons and the Ogre Bulls here rocking up and taking the head-up fight here. A little bit of fire coming in from the flank from the Marauder Hunter Javelins, and doing some decent work against the great weapons for sure. That anti-large bonus on each of the Javelins is just so nasty. It really adds up with how many models are in these units. 90 is a pretty appreciable unit size for any ranged piece, especially with the kind of damage output that you're looking at here with the AP, base missile damage, and the bonus versus large, adding in some extra punching power. That's really why you want to be protecting those guys a little bit better. We've still got 2 on the field, though. Only one of them has really been pushed off. You see a lot of the Noblars are gone, and it's actually starting to look really rough for the Ogre Kingdoms. Sourdough, in fact, taking a slight value lead here, and really nice intercept out here on the flank with the Skinwolves. Pretty beat up. You can see they're down to 17 models, don't have a lot of HP, but they get in the way of the dual weapon bulls. With the charge bonus wearing off for the Ogres, this is where the Skinwolves should be able to outpace these guys, as long as they don't break here. They could probably take these guys down to about half HP and leave the Norskins with plenty of room to work with to keep the number 3 objective secure up top here. Some Ice Wolves or maybe another Skinwolf summon. Looks like Marauder Champions and Spearmen, though, going to be rallying out over there to assist. Mornfang great weapons find Wulfric, and while Sourdough does have a value lead, losing his Lord here could be a disaster. Definitely need your leadership to stay upright against the Ogre Kingdoms. More often than not, there's a lot of fear-causing units on this roster. You can see just about every one of the Ogre Bull units has fear. You can cause havoc with your leadership if you also lose your Lord. But you're trading out for the Slaughtermaster, and I think that is going to go way farther in securing a win for one side or the other. Ogre Kingdoms have much worse leadership than Norska. Norska is like a middle-of-the-road faction in terms of leadership. Ogre Kingdoms, I would go so far as to say they have pretty awful leadership. A lot of their units are like at 50 or less, especially the Noblars. And Ogres really can't do anything without Noblar coverage. Bulls just get outclassed when they're by themselves by pretty much anything. They really are not a very good solo unit. It's once you're able to stack all your support pieces with one another that the Ogre Kingdoms get unmanageable. And I think Sourdough has just lasted long enough to be able to get this into a broken field type of situation where Ogres are going to be throwing out units, but they're going to be way too isolated to effectively trade, and the value lead you can see is starting to widen more and more in Sourdough's favor. Nice blockage here with the very beat-up Norskin Ice Wolves, just on their last legs. Just throw them up in there, get a last little bit of value out of them, do some damage to an annoying Ogre Bull unit, and then give yourself a little bit of space to cap points and bring forward some more reserves. You can see the Marauder Spearmen trotting out from the very deep-set summons. Normally, in late-game situations, Ogre Kingdoms have the mobility edge, but I would say that because of the ability of Norska to summon out stuff like Skinwolves, that they will have the slight edge in the reinforcement game. You'll probably see the Marauder Champions here get laid through with the Lead Belcher fire getting in there. You can see the Lead Belchers have gotten quite a bit of value. One of them just shy of paying for itself, but the other was 1,600 value. very, very reliable unit. Anytime they're able to use about half their ammo, lead belchers are probably about paid off, and then everything else is just gravy. You can see the proof in the pudding here. This one's been bullied a little bit. This is the one that got attacked by the Beast of Tashnar early in the game, I'm pretty sure. It's been running around quite a bit, only used half its ammo, but you can see it's only about 100 value shy of paying for itself. Really only 50 gold shy. Marauder Spearman up on the point now, getting there just in time to slow the cap down. Ogre Kingdoms will still capture the number 2, but it's going to be a little bit longer for Sourdough to hang on to that triple cap, and Ogres really need to get a move on here if they're going to win this game, because they don't have a lot of time to work with. A double cap will wind the clock out very quickly here. You've got, what? Yeah, 199 seconds, and, you know, ticking down every single moment here. So, you know, not looking at a very good situation right now. Pigback Riders and Ogre Bulls actually able to get in against the Marauder Spearmen. Got them to wavering, but these guys finding their courage now at just the right moment, able to hang on to this middle point and keep fighting here and value trading so that the Norskins can consolidate on the outsides. Just a single cap will win it now. Ogres really need to get the number 1 quickly here, but they don't really have the tools for that. Pigback Riders actually getting bullied on the charge a little bit. If they were braced, they'd be doing a little bit better, but because they're on the move, Skinwolves with the superior mass just kind of collide into these guys and push over them, applying a lot of damage to them as they're moving in, and you can see folding them up really nicely. One of the Skinwolves does end up routing, but the other is standing very firmly on the number 1, and will be able to keep that held for another minute or so, I would say, for Norska. Actually, a little bit of a problem here for the Ogre Kingdoms. I thought that they would be doing a little bit better, but I guess without the dual weapon bulls, you can see that the momentum here is just not enough for them. The Marauder Spearmen trading pretty decently right now. Pretty good value trades out of them. Almost 1,000 value on this Marauder Spearman. I would guess that that's the second time they've come out, so paying off both times is a pretty good sign for you. Marauder Champions. Looking cool as hell. Like, I love the tattoos on the Norskins. The helmets are super sick as well. Especially the ones with all of the tusks. Not sure what these are from. A little too small to be mammoths, obviously, but I can only imagine the kind of hellacious monsters that they've got running around in the Norskin wastes. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure that Turin was hanging on for DLC before doing the new season, but since it's going to be December before it releases, it does make sense to just launch the season now. And you can just kind of have a truncated one for the time being, and when the DLC actually drops, just, you know, another new season then. Play Khorne Empire. Khorne really is a fun faction. They are very easy to pick up, as Stargate said. They're pretty difficult to master. Khorne has a lot of weaknesses that, at the higher levels of play, people are very practiced at taking advantage of. It starts to get pretty dicey, but in lower level tournaments, they're kind of a nightmare for a lot of people. The superior combat stats in Melee mean that Khorne can basically flatten any front line without too many issues. And they've got some really nice mobile tools that enable some really good hammer and anvil tactics. I always recommend them for people who are picking up multiplayer and might be a little bit worried about their micro not being up to snuff. Khorne not having magic of any kind makes it pretty straightforward as to how you play. You look for advantageous melee fights, you maneuver around, you hit and run a lot, and get in and out. without taking a whole bunch of damage, and that's kind of where Khorne thrives. And you can just get used to you can get used to the maneuvering. And once you move on to factions that actually have magic, it'll feel like a whole nother beautiful, brave new world for you to kind of mess around with. That's kind of my thought process behind them. Plus, Khorne is just cool. Khorne is like the ultimate aura and hype moments chaos god. Let's see what else we've got here. Kislev versus Tomb Kings could be interesting. I'm a little worried about this one, though. Tomb Kings have fallen off pretty hard this season. I think a lot of people just dropped them. Aren't really that interested in playing them personally, but most of the problems that Tomb Kings have are pretty difficult to overcome in domination mode. Bad cap weight on most of your infantry is pretty horrible to deal with as a new player. You're really reliant on your cav to be your cap weight.
Generations, Kislev has endured unspeakable horrors. This is a mere distraction.
What the hell's the ice switch? Oh, it's Katerin, actually. Katerin on the sled, too, which is kind of cool. I wouldn't go for Katerin on the sled against Tomb Kings. Frostworm is better because you gotta deal with Settra on the Sphinx, usually. Frostworm beats the Sphinx pretty handily. Tomb Kings may not have the best win rate right now, but they are still pretty good into quite a few matchups. Against an equally powerful shooting faction, though, this could be a real problem. Little Grom outranges Casket of Souls, I believe. Or actually, Casket of Souls is slightly better range. Only 20 meters, though. Little Grom, with its accurate fire, should be able to kill a Casket pretty quickly, though. Plus, you can shoot Settra with the Little Groms. You've got a lot of bowmen, the Horse Archers for Kislev. Very accurate. You can actually see them out-trading the Skeleton Horsemen right now with the Little Grom, assisting a little bit as well. Just maneuvering and poking and doing a lot of work that way. Akshina Ambusher's opening up now, and these guys have huge missile strength. Fairly slow firing at 12 seconds per volley. But 10 AP. 10 AP is actually better armor-piercing damage than some of the bow units that actually have a majority AP in the game. It's kind of silly. It does typically lend itself to people underestimating the Akshinas, just because they see the they don't see the little AP tooltip next to their name like you do with the Kislevite Warriors. People really undersell just how powerful these guys can be in matchups where big monsters are a bit of a threat, but you also want to have something that can go invisible, and you don't want to have to rely on Streltsy, who are a little vulnerable to getting hammered from afar by arty factions. Akshina Ambushers are like a really strong middle ground that you can fall back on. They've got like decently defensible stats. Weapon strength is actually pretty high for a ranged unit at 35. With some buffs, they can be a really nasty hybrid unit that you can lean back on and allow to just uptrade for you at pretty much any stage of the game until they get closed in on in melee. You can see Settra having a pretty good time running over these guys, but he gets hit by Death Frost. Really nice spell to have in the back pocket, especially for a matchup like this where you're expecting a big scary monster. Being able to throw this out from Katerin and just wear them down slowly but surely pays off immensely. It's a double strength Spirit Leech, basically. It is a little bit more inefficient in terms of wins of magic, though. Yeah, Spirit Leech is 8 wins of magic for 13 seconds. You're paying a little bit of a premium for the Death Frost, but I really don't mind it here. It's like your best spell outside of Ice Maiden's Kiss for clearing out chaff here against the Tomb Kings. Really nice screening with the Horse Archers. They've been riding around and they poke down a lot of the Skelly Horsemen for the Tomb Kings, and now they're just looking to hammer Settra a little bit. while Zarina Katerin is just wheeling and dealing, running over some stuff. Not doing anything too crazy right now. Little Grom with some decent value, focusing down Cetra currently. Casket of Souls, pretty low impact artillery piece, just doesn't do enough. Honestly, I feel like if you gave Casket of Souls as much ammo as the Arwar Hell Cannon, then they could be strong. But only 20 volleys out of these things, they're way too inaccurate to really value trade the way that they need to. That's probably one of the changes I would like to see for Tomb Kings, so that they have a little bit more utility out of all of their units, instead of being super dependent on Ushabti Greatbows, Sepulchral Stalkers, the Skelly Horse Archers, and their monsters like the Cimmerian War Sphinxes. Griffin Legion just running down some of these very lightly armored Bone Cavalry. Necrocarl Horsemen are the most heavily armored cav outside of the Necropolis Knights that the Tomb Kings have, and they only have 50 armor, so Griffin Legion just feast in this matchup. They're so nasty for controlling the mobility game, and they can go in and kill stuff like Casket of Souls pretty quickly as well. These things don't have all that much armor. Their melee defense and attack is absolutely abysmal, so there's a lot of threatening that these guys can do here. They can hit against Ushabti as well. Ushabti have 90 armor, so fairly resilient to non-AP units, but the Griffin Legion shock damage is just wicked at 72, plus Glorious Charge. Actually gives them plenty of time to grind in against Ushabti in melee, and then pull away, do it all over again. I've seen some pretty good performances out of them against units of that caliber before. Warbear Riders getting tangled up in some Skelly Spears, not really where they want to be. Trying to get away from the Takesha Scorpion Legion and the Standard Spears. And looking to charge down this Ushabti Summon. This is the army ability for the Tomb Kings on the field now. You can see them crumbling as we speak now. Or, I'm not crumbling yet, technically, but unbinding. You can see that it's ticking down over time there. Not going to be around a whole lot longer. And Kislev looks to have this pretty well in hand. Tomb Kings just don't have a good matchup against Kislev. About equal in the shooting game, and then far superior infantry for Kislev. Whether that's Kislevite warriors, who are very hard to engage on since they have the halberds and really strong melee defense. Skeleton spears just can't do anything to them. Then you're also talking about Armored Kossars coming in. Nice poke from the Armored Kossars hammering the Kyrian as they are flying overhead. Should be able to wear those Kyrian out in melee combat without too much worry. They'll take a little bit of damage, but 40 melee defense is going to hold up really well against the low melee attack of 26 that Kyrian have. Kyrian are really just a harass tool. They're not really a damage dealer. They've got good weapon strength, the Kyrian, but usually not enough for the purposes that I see a lot of people use them for. It's better to throw it. Kyrian is best used to land on top of something like a Streltsy or an Akshina or a Horse Archer and just keep them engaged while you hammer with your ranged pieces to clear out infantry. And once you've kind of occupied your opponent's shooting, the Kyrian can get back up in the air. You can bring your own cavalry as the Tomb Kings forward to start hammering, and then the Kyrian can go find other targets to intercept in the open field and just kind of lock down for an extended period. Chosen of the Gods only have 65 value. Man, oh man. To be fair, they've just come out. They're trying to shoot Zarina Katerin, but the burst missile's not really doing a whole lot of work against her, and she's very healthy. Cetra is gone, obviously, as you can see. He was getting chased down by the Snow Leopard. It looks like he did get caught at the edge of the trees here. You can see his War Sphinx on the ground. Where's our boy, Cetra? It's like an ornamental headdress. Apparently he's fallen underneath the Sphinx and has been crushed to death. Or crushed to re-death, I suppose. Pretty abominable way to go. Dervishes chasing down skeleton horse archers, very nice choice of target. They will take damage as the skeleton horse archers kite back, but Cossified dervishes are able to catch skeleton horse archers with the superior speed, so it's really not that big of a deal. The only way you could do better here as Kislev is to have your Griffin Legion or Winged Lancers chasing back the horse archers here. Although it's a pretty awkward situation for Winged Lancers since they cost 1,000 gold. And skeleton horse archers are only, what, 475, I believe. It can be a little bit inefficient to chase that way. In a late game situation like this, it'll be fine, but in closer games, Cossified dervishes are the way to go. You can see they do end up actually catching the skeleton horse archer, and with their slightly better combat stats, they should win this fight. As long as their leadership holds, which I imagine it will, just because Buyer Blood is available, and does a great job of allowing Kislev units to fight to the bitter end. It's very rare that their units break before they're at the tipping point, where their effectiveness is pretty much nil anyways. I do really appreciate that about them. Griffin Legion looking cool as hell. I love the lances that these guys have. They're some of them are a little bit more like a standard IRL lance, and then other ones are almost like a Naginata. They've got these like curved blades on the end. Skewer people with, I imagine. Definitely would put a bit of a hurt down on you if you got hit by that. Akshina's got about 700 value, a little bit shy of that. Kissified warriors are doing great work. Two of them getting really nice uptrades, the others just occupying attention. Horse archers got some good value. Zarina with 1300 is pretty impressive, especially considering she wasn't on her optimal mount. Get her on a Frostworm instead, Roderick. It's always going to be better against the Tomb Kings, in my personal opinion. Frostworms, tons of armor. You don't really need to worry about the infantry for the Tomb Kings at all. You can just use Ice Maiden's Kiss to kind of clean them up if you need to. And the Worm can be a little bit more aggressive into the backline, where it can go after Ushapti. Or just chase Setcher around and keep him from bullying your infantry in turn. One Thing's in the Woods, just in reserve. Not a bad option. I mean, they've got good mass, good stats, and good AP, so they can come in and kind of dual purpose against larger stuff. They don't have a lot of infantry-sized targets they want to fight here. Just kept them in reserve all game. Instead, focused on getting out all of the mobile units, as well as the Kossars here in reserve. They didn't do anything too crazy, but that's not really the point of having your armored infantry out. You're just trying to dissuade skeletons from moving around and capping points. Just one armored Kossar is able to hold off multiple skeletons from capping a point pretty easily. The only thing I don't love here is the Warbear Riders. Warbear Riders just aren't good. I don't know what it is about them. I think it's their animation set. Warbear Riders don't seem to have very good attack intervals, so they're kind of a wet noodle, in my opinion. I'd never see the non-Arawar version uptrade. If you want to bring Warbear Riders, then just spend the premium for the Oath Brothers of Tor. They actually are able to value trade pretty nicely. And I'll just show it off right now. The reason why is pretty straightforward. They're only 250 gold more, and they get this bombardment ability, which does a decent amount of damage, but more importantly, imbues Blinded, which can be really strong. Once the charge bonus on the Oath Brothers is worn off, you pop Call of Tor, and you get 10 seconds where your opponent is at a disadvantage against you, plus any actual damage from the explosive damage this puts out, which is fairly negligible, but it does allow them to tear into some pretty beastly units that are otherwise pretty tough to take down. You know, they're pretty much a single entity goon squad piece. They're not very strong into numbers or into other anti-large units. They need a lot of babysitting. Typically speaking, you can get away as Kislev with not bringing any warbears and just opting for more guns or more shooting is what I think you're better off with. Mortal OG with some really fun builds. Get rid of this, is a duplicate one. Got some corn action. Really cool low and slow grind corn build here with all the infantry. Plus Scarbrand, which is fun to see. We'll get around to this one eventually. Ooh. You know, this used to be the standby for Lizardmen in this matchup for a long time. The Shredder of Lustria used to be even more oppressive than... It's still a really good monster, but the Shredder of Lustria did get nerfed. It lost the artillery, damage by artillery debuff on its Howdah, so it no longer adds another -10 leadership on top of the fear and terror that it causes and dread aversion. It was stacking insane debuffs. -26? Yeah, -26 from the Shredder of Lustria with everything back in the day, but now it's just the -16 since it no longer imbues the -10. Chaos Warriors into the sunset. 3 of them, 3 Marauders. Hellforge Bellowers, really nice to have against Lizards. Does a great job of counterfiring Chameleon Skinks and Skink Skirmishers alike. Neither of those units want to get lit up by the Hellforge Bellowers at all. You can see only 2 of the missiles making contact with this unit, but still taking 10 models down. It's a lot of early damage output being lost. Korngors grab the number 3, Skulltaker on his throne. Just going to be hanging out, doing his thing. Not going for anything too crazy on the items and abilities, just trying to pare it down to a respectable amount. You can go with all of Skulltaker's buffs, though, and he is just insanely cost-effective that way. He can actually fight the Shredder of Lustria and Mazda Mundi, provided he's careful about when and where he engages. As long as he's not by himself, he can actually put down a lot of damage on big monsters. He's really not bad in melee fights because of the Revelant Slaughter and Totem of Endless Bloodletting get him up to about 61 melee attack. If you have Slayer's Sword, then he's got 85 melee attack for big monster fights, plus a huge weapon strength buff. I would prioritize that over Cloak of Skulls. Cloak of Skulls is nice, but Slayer's Sword, I think, does a little bit more to keep Skulltaker alive in fights that are actually a little bit more dangerous for him. He's got good enough mass that he can kind of run over infantry without too many issues. Just preserving him with the Slayer Sword in the single entity fights is much stronger in my opinion and experience. Fleshhound's going down pretty hard here. They got netted by Mazda Mundi and the Shredder of Lustria and the Feral Cold Ones. Make very short work of those poor little demon doggos. Not a terrible loss, but definitely one that does hurt. 750 gold is no laughing matter to lose early on. Luckily, the Hellforge Bellowers kind of keeping Khorne in this game in the skirmish phase. There's not a lot on the field to threaten it either. I mean, really, you can only shoot it with the Skinks right now. And the damage output from the Skinks is going to be pretty limited because of the armor on this thing, plus the... But it doesn't have it doesn't have physical resistance, really? I thought Skull Cannons did for some reason. Apparently not. Alright, fair enough. No Phys Res for the Hellforge Bellowers. Nonetheless, 110 armor is plenty of mitigation to go running after these guys. If it gets into melee combat, it'll start to heal and replenish its ammo, which is really nice. Skull Feast and Gore Feast, both really strong. Skulltaker also has Gore Feast. Looks like Mazda Mundi's going to move over. Tries to get the charge off, but Skulltaker just manages to move out of the way. Shredder also trying to get in here. You can see Skulltaker. Really nice micro from Ghost King, just pulling that guy away. Chaos Warriors, though, taking a lot of damage. Just massive chunks of their HP being run through. The Shredder of Lustria kind of trampling over them, plus Mazda Mundi assisting there. We've also got the Red-Crested Skinks doing some great damage. And yeah, you can see Terror Routes really coming in clutch here for the Lizards. Just because you've got Frenzy doesn't mean that you've got the ITP the whole game. Any leadership debuffs can start to really hamper Khorne's effectiveness in the front line. It is still worth bringing the Shredder on occasion. It's just a little bit harder to play around it like you used to. Ghost King, Khorngor's a little bit out of position. They really need to move over and assist their brethren out here on the middle point. And I think instead of going for the Fleshhounds and the Chaos Warhounds, I actually think that what you want here, especially since your opponent has two big monsters, is the Marauder Throwing Axes. Since you've beat up on a lot of the Chameleons and the Skink cohort, bringing in the Marauder Throwing Axes just to pepper these big monsters with the flaming AP axes can definitely wear them out really nicely, but also mitigates the heal potential from Mazda Mundi with this Apotheosis. Flaming attacks lower the incoming healing by 50%, as you may or may not know. It's worth keeping it in mind against factions that do have pretty strong options for healers. You don't really need the Throwing Axes to necessarily come in and get like tremendous amounts of value, even though they are very capable of doing that. Just being able to poke away at stuff behind the front line and keep bigger monsters like this at bay while Skulltaker rolls around and mulches through infantry and just attracts a lot of aggro can be really nice. Khorngor's maneuvering over Feral Cold Ones, trying to get the charge off on the Marauders. Not a whole lot of infantry left for Khorne outside of the number 3 position here. Ghost King did cap the number 1, but is going to be losing it here in a moment. Staying fairly even with the Lizardmen, just really needs these Minotaurs to start doing some damage here. Have not really been able to find any fights. Gonna get a nice charge off on the cohort of Sotek. Minotaurs are capable enough melee combatants to be able to beat up on infantry pretty nicely. And it's oftentimes worth it too, especially if they can get an engagement against one that's occupied by other units. You can get in there with the big weapon strength, kind of beat up on some of the models. You get charge on Blood Greed, which gives buffs to the Minos with melee attack charge bonus and weapon strength. Can make a big difference for them in the value trade game.
He has captured one of your victory points. Take it back.
Throwing Axes finally come out. We do have a recap on the number 1 from Bird, but the number 2 gets flipped in the same breath by Khorne not too long after. Minos buffering some stuff back. Got about 700 value. Really nice engagement. They do some damage to the cohort. They also beat up on the Shredder a little bit, force it back, keep it honest. Now you've got 2 Throwing Axes out on the field, which is beautiful to see for Khorne. Definitely need to make sure, though, that Skulltaker does not get ripped apart here. He can fight one or the other of these big monsters, but both at the same time is a little much to ask from Skulltaker. Good turnaround here, though, getting in to make sure that you give the extra leadership to your Minos, nullifying all of the leadership lost from the Shredder here. Shredder, though, does have some wicked attack animations, and it's very good at killing the models on Minos. Minos get the Relentless Rage here, keeping them in this fight, preventing models from dying, and definitely allowing them to more than value trade for themselves. I don't know how much longer they're going to hold in here, though. Relentless Rage wears off now. And while they've done some pretty effective damage, you've still got Mazda Mundi here, and Apotheosis is still on the table, I would bet. It takes a long time to use all of the magic here when you're just using Net and Apo. Yeah, you can see the Minotaurs. Not standing bravely anymore. They're going to be routing away. They got 2,100 value, which is damn good, but Problem for Khorne with one of the throwing axes routing away, other one back here. A little bit buffered out. There's a Saurus Spear on the middle that's going to be a really nice anchor piece for the Lizardmen. Really good engagement for Khorne here, though, with the Khorne Gores going after the Cold One Spear Riders, backed up by Skulltaker, who's healing this whole time. You can see him taking a little bit of poke, but not suffering too badly for it. Cloak of Skulls active now, and can be a little bit of a pain to get that charged up, but once it's going, Cloak of Skulls is really awesome at preserving Skulltaker's HP, because while his melee defense is pretty low at 25, immune to flanking means that is always active even against units that might be surrounding his model. Can make it incredibly difficult for infantry to poke down Skulltaker. Ghost King has a slight lead, but that's not really a good sign. Lizards, obviously with their healing, are making up for a lot of that value, and you can see that just 1 or 2 Saurus is more than enough to hold on to points against stuff like Marauders and Khorne Gores. And without decent quality on the field, Khorne is going to find it very difficult in the late game to take the win home here. And yeah, these big monsters down to about half HP or less, but you're talking about a monster that comes with 15,000 at base. Absolutely insane amounts of HP on this thing. And with it still being beat up, still has 6,500. Definitely going to be an issue into the late game here, and a lot of Khorne Warhounds are running. Chaos Warhounds of Khorne have grown on me quite a bit, but you definitely need to play carefully with them. They can't afford to get charged. They're very good at chasing down stuff like skinks and whatnot, but that's about it. You don't want to leave them very vulnerable and like exposed out on the end of the line, because they'll get charged down by something like a Cold One or any kind of heavy cavalry and just get melted, man. Fleshhound's gonna suffer badly here. You get attacked in the rear, plus you've got all the leadership debuffs stacked on them. Demonic Instability is crazy hard to play around. It's so punishing. And I like Fleshhounds in some matchups, but against the Lizardmen, I'm not a huge fan. You're better off just bringing as many Khorne Gores and Minotaurs as possible, with Fury backup if you want to, like, kill the Lizard skirmish tools. Fair Cold Ones getting a good charge off on the throwing axes here. Throwing axes, very good against chaff infantry. But into anything with any amount of armor and a decent amount of weapon strength, they can get folded up pretty fast, because they don't have very good melee defense, obviously. And they're pretty reliant on the charge bonus for their damage output in melee contact anyways. Skulltaker pulls out, only 950 value on him though, and the Shredder of Lustria with 4,300 running over these Chaos Warriors now. My goodness, the collision damage on this thing is just so nasty. Add on to that the weapon strength of 750. It's killing like 6-7 models on the Chaos Warriors at a time, with all the splash damage. So even when it's not getting the collision attacks off, which are really where most of the mayhem is wrought against infantry, it's still pretty efficient at just sitting on top of them and pummeling them. 4,600 on the big boy. Bird is retaking the value lead, and I would imagine the Lizards have this locked down. They got a lot of stuff on the field now. I was looking a little bare bones for a moment, but part of that was just, leaning back and relying on the Shredder, bringing in a bunch of numbers, just slowly grind down the Cornate units, and now, here in the late game, the superior numbers on the Lizards shines through, and they're able to take this dub here. Love the Saurus Spears, man. See this guy's happy as can be. Trumpeting triumphantly. Kislev versus Empire from round 2. Let's go check it out, then. It's got beat up early, but they rallied in and got some decent work done. Mazda with 2,000. Shredder with 4,900. That's like a classic Shredder performance against Khorne. That was the norm almost all the time in that matchup in the past. Certainly showing it still has teeth. I would say that what you need to do here, Ghost King, get rid of the Marauders in reserve. They're pretty useless in reserve, and Lizards aren't really the kind of matchup that you want to bring a bunch of Marauders in anyways. They just lose horrifically to Saurus, and they don't really even beat up on Skinks all that well. Focus on the Khorne Gores, Chaos Warriors, but preferably some Bloodletters. I actually really like Bloodletters against the Lizardmen. They can get poked by Chameleons pretty hard, but outside of that, Bloodletters are safe into Red Cresteds and the Saurus, so maybe just have one of those guys in reserve. The Wrathmongers, I don't know about them either. Just cut them and get another Minotaur. You need more mobility on this back end, Ghost King. That's really the only notes that I can provide you here. You need fewer Flesh Hounds. You can maybe bring one Flesh Hound. I don't hate that. Get another Fury. Get rid of the Marauders and the Wrathmongers. Get one more Minotaur in here and try and get a Bloodletter. Because the other thing about Bloodletters is that they can actually grind down Cold Ones pretty effectively. Even Cold One Spear Riders, as long as they don't eat the charge head up, Bloodletters with their great swords have enough AP and melee attack to be able to beat up on the very weak melee defense that the Lizard mobility has. We got Roderick coming in again on Kislev, Suga on the Empire. Hellblaster Volley Gun for Suga here. 2 Empire Captains and Balthazar Gelt in the sky, I presume. Staff of Valons, and I would be shocked if he didn't have Searing Doom. Yeah, Searing Doom, Plague of Rust, Final Transmutation. Perfect Metal Mage Spell Kit. Add the Staff of Valons in here, and you have one of the quickest casting wizards in the entire game. Balthazar Gelt can use all of his magic within the first 6-7 minutes of a game if he's got this thing going early. Probably a good idea to pace the spellcasting out, though. Definitely need some Searing Dooms to handle stuff like Griffin Legion and poke down Horse Archers that might not be paying attention, or your opponent might not be paying attention to. Searing Doom also good against Armored Kossars and the like. Actually gonna get a Final Transmutation here. With the Ice Witch getting hammered pretty hard by it. Not the worst thing in the world. She's hanging in pretty nicely. And I forget that he's got a... What the hell is this? What's going on here? Oh, the unit sizes are on Largian, so that's just Suga running that. Right? Yeah, totally. Okay. Pistoliers poking a little bit. The Horse Archers are doing a pretty good job of handling the Pistoliers. Not suffering too badly, but just as I say that, they eat some volleys here and are getting worked on. So you're going to see the Horse Archers pulling back, just trying to preserve their HP and give the Pistoliers a piece of their mind. Dropping some much nicer long-range shots. The Pistoliers, definitely worth it for Suga to pull back now. Good call, just not over-pursuing, and laying in wait for a better opportunity for the value trading. Really beautiful Hawks of Miska. Grundle's defenders about to go down. Swordsmen and the other spearmen taking a lot of damage themselves also. Demogryph Knight Halberd getting around the back, though. Maybe going to be going after the double Little Grom. They've done a pretty good job of shutting down the handgunners. Little Grom really needs to turn its attention here to get rid of the Demogryph Halberds before they make it in. Akshina's throwing down a little bit of damage. And a good Kossovite Dervish summon. Actually going to be able to intercept the Demogryph Halberds in time. Kossovite Dervish is definitely not going to win this fight, but probably going to give time for another summon out of reserve from Roderick to either tar pit them or just to pull the Little Groms back into the trees. Looks like he'll be prioritizing another summon instead. Love to see these guys get back a bit. You got Kislevites Warriors moving up. Kossars are poking down the Empire Captain in the back line here. Looks like this guy's on horseback. Very rare sighting for the Empire Captains. Usually they're just on foot so they can support the front line with their encourage and hold the line bonus. I don't really see a whole lot of opportunity for them to really do much of anything on horseback personally, but to each their own. Kossovite Dervish is discombobulating the Outrider grenade launchers here and getting a decent number of model kills on them. There are only 2, then they break. Horse Archer's screaming in from the side, though. Definitely going to be able to get the Outriders with the grenade launchers pretty low here. Plus, you got some nice Horse Archer fire from the high ground here. Should be pretty short work of one of the scarier Empire units. Outrider grenade launchers are just so good against any kind of infantry. And light armor units in general. I've even seen them do some decent damage to single entities before. It has to be a pretty big unit for the Outriders to hit single entities, but they can do it in a pinch.
Do not trust wizards.
Yeah, don't trust some Coronate worshipping Imperials here, man. Yeah, don't trust wizards. A crazy thing for them to say, considering the Empire, one of the more magic-reliant factions, I would say. Some factions can get away with not really using their magic up to snuff. Empire, though, is pretty dependent on it, I would say. They really need it to enable their dive attempts or their punish game. Just damage in general with, like, Plague of Rust and Searing Doom. Net of Amontok is a pretty common sighting. Probably would be a pretty good spell choice against Kislev. It's maybe a little bit less effective than Metal Magic. Metal Magic is almost always the best lore choice. Very, very rare that you have access to metal mages and you're not bringing them a majority of the time, I would say. It'd be really nice to see some of the other less powerful lores of magic get buffed, so that they see about as much play as these metal mage casters do. Continuing with the good poke from the Horse Archers, man. They have done a great job of wearing down the Pistoliers and the Outriders. Plus, Little Grom's still poking away from back here. One Little Grom did die. Demogryph Halberds all over it, it looks like. And you can see the unit being unsummoned, as that shining white light is being accepted into Sigmar's embrace. Is my headcanon there. They'll be summoned out shortly as Stormcast Immortals, right? Everybody's favorite, totally not Space Marine knockoff. Another Hawks of Miska goes down. I don't know what it was targeting. Not really doing much of anything. Does lower the leadership on Knights of the Black Rose, but that's not really much to speak on. Pretty limited impact against those guys, obviously. Couple of handgunners for the Empire looking to hit the Kislevites Warriors and the Armored Kossar here. Armored Kossar with 1100 value. Really good performance by them. Pleasantly surprised. I would say that Kislevites Warriors, you do want a couple against the Empire, but I would actually fill my front line out with a majority of my infantry being the armored Kossars with the pistols. They have shields, so they hold up really nicely against Empire counter shooting. They do a great job against Empire State troops with their better stats, plus they can poke big stuff with their pistols. Very versatile unit. A little surprised to see this many Kislevad warriors. The Kislevad warriors are really nice for holding flanks. They don't really do it by themselves, usually, in the infantry game. Eye Switch just hanging out in the backfield here. We got little Grom dropping some more shots. Beautiful, accurate fire onto the Outrider grenade launchers, taking down about 3, 4, 5 models, maybe. Getting them in the danger zone. I think this unit might rout. Wow, they actually end up routing, so grenade launchers have been shut down pretty nicely this game by the missiles from Suga. Or not from Suga, from Roderick. I'm getting the players mixed around. Not used to seeing folks swap it up on me like this. Swordsmen doing their best to hold the line. I love the color scheme, the green and the red. Actually, I'm not really a fan of green on uniforms, personally. You know, unless it's like camouflage, then I understand the practical purposes, but I think this color combo does work. You know, very Christmas themed, I guess. It's kind of funny to see. That's the, what is this? Oh, it's Hawkland, isn't it? Is the faction, is the sub-faction that we've got here. Watchmen in the Night and Warbears actually doing a good job of beating back the Knights of the Black Rose, who are definitely feeling the hurt here. Warbear Riders with 1100 value. Very nice performance from them. Excellent to see. Watchmen have also traded really well. 900 gold unit with 900 value so far, and a little bit of room left to work with. Probably going to end up with about 1,000, and could actually end up routing the Empire Spearmen here if that fight goes on too much longer. Kislev fairly dominant on the battlefield, I would say. Oh no, and the Hellblaster volley gun gets attacked by the Winged Lancers here. No buffering in front of those guys. Looks like the Hellblaster volley gun may have gotten a good volley off here, though. It's a lot of dead bodies there. Oh, is that, is this Empire Knights? The hell are these guys? No, those are Kislev uniforms, so... I think the Hellblaster got one revenge volley off before they got collapsed on. Able to get some value trades that way. Pistoliers jogging forward, looking to get after the Horse Archers. Ah, man, Suga's played a really nice game, but the problem is the Kislev durability, man. I mean, just the fact that their units don't break until they're literally down to, like, less than 10 HP is very, very difficult to contend with. Especially when your own infantry are much flimsier on the leadership front and just don't have nearly as good defenses. While Kislevite warriors are pretty squishy on the armor front, they've got great melee defense. Not even mentioning the armored Kossars, which we saw out earlier, just getting 1,100 gold value, no problem at all. Silver shields are very, very strong. I'm going to need to grab some water after this game. I think we can kind of fast forward through this one. Kislev looks fairly dominant. Get a good engagement onto the Warbear Riders over here. Warbear Riders going down to the Demigryph Halberds, but Warbear unit did actually pay for itself. Very rare circumstance, in my opinion. But heartening to see. I do appreciate a very fun thematic unit getting in some decent work. Demigryph Knight Halberd's going to be motoring over to the middle objective, trying desperately to push off Kislevite Warriors, which is going to be a real headache, man. Definitely not going to be what the Demigryphs want to do. So they're going to actually turn around and go after the Winged Lancers. And maybe these Kossovite Dervishes. Yeah, looks like that's who they're going to be targeting first. Should make very short work of this squishy light cab unit for Kislev. And then they can go peel the Winged Lancers off of the Pistoliers, perhaps. Although, Pistoliers get caught in the back line here, and Kossar is throwing down some decent damage to the bows. And then from the rear, we've got the Winged Lancers crushing both units of the Pistoliers. Suga losing those guys hurts bad. Especially considering how close this game is. You really want to have even beat up units out on the field just so they can use all their ammo before they get on summon and give you back a little bit of money. The fact that those guys are pulling out and probably not rallying either until they get to the edge of the battlefield. Not a very good sign. Tells you pretty much all you need to know about how this matchup is going here at the end. Winged Lancers just deleting a handgun unit. Oh my god, that was a filthy good charge. A little bit of a shame that I missed the early stages of it, but the outcome couldn't be better for Kislev. You get rid of a very annoying range tool. Plus, you shatter some swordsmen as well. Pull out with a decently healthy unit and just get them ready to get some peel, and then they can loop back around and hammer the Demogryph Knights or something. Looks like, though, they're going to get caught by the Empire Captain and a little too occupied with him. Now the Demogryphs all over those guys. Great micro on these Demogryph Halberds. They have done excellent work and damage this game. But unfortunately, the 2800 value is just not going to be enough for the Empire to get this one. Hellblaster Volley Gun crew finally making their way back to their pieces. Only 600 value so far. Definitely do want to focus on Watchmen in the Night. Maybe look to shoot the Akshinas up. Akshina's opening fire on the handgunners here. And we do have Kossars poking at the Demogryph Halberds. A lot more bodies coming out for Roderick. See the armored Kossars motoring in again. 1300 on their first life, man. Brutally, brutally powerful. These guys' walk animation is a little silly looking to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's a little unquantifiable to me, but something about the way the armored Kossars walks just baffles me. That's actually really awesome, Empire. Huge kudos to you. You'll get there. You'll win yourself a tournament in short order, I believe. Alright, guys. I'll be back. Gonna get some water. And we'll look into some of the later round games. We've got a decent number of them to get through. So, stay tuned, guys. Alright, guys. We got an Ogre Kingdoms match here. Don't know what butcher this is. I would guess that we're going to see a Beastcaster. Or what is this? Is this the Great Maw Lore icon? Oh, it's just the Lord icon. Or what we got here. Let me see. I would guess Great Maw magic. Yeah. So we got the Troll Guts just because the Double Stonehorn is here. I love Double Stonehorn. This was actually one of my favorite builds at launch, was Double Stonehorn with some Ogre Bulls and then Noblars. I didn't have Pigback Riders at the time, obviously, but just back it up with the healing, and these Stonehorns are just nasty business, dude. Their Harpoon actually does pretty good damage at range against large targets. Couple that with their amazing mass and collision damage, and the Stonehorns can definitely run over some infantry-heavy factions. And I think it's actually worth bringing them against the Tomb Kings. Not necessarily for the anti-infantry performance, but because these Stonehorns can poke Cetra on a War Sphinx at range, and you can see even on horseback, they're throwing out some great damage against them so far. On top of that, they're a pretty good dual-purpose unit because of their charge bonus and weapon strength. They can beat up on some of the stuff like Ushapti and whatnot. They just run in, collide with them, do a bunch of damage, and then run away. Very hard to shut down these monsters running around in tandem with each other. A massive flock of Blood Vultures on the way in to get these Skeleton Horse Archers, and the Tomb Kings with a little bit of a chaotic retreat here. Definitely need to just pull through all of the halberds and skeleton spearmen here to maximize the effect, and we actually get the Maw being cast. Very rare spell to be used, but wallops the skeleton spears and does about half the HP on this Tomb Guard halberd here. Decent value. It's crazy expensive. That's really the only complaint I have about the Maw. It's really only good against infantry as well. It's like another minor gripe I have with it. But all in all, pretty effective first cast here, and we've got the Stonehorns in the back line. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look at the collision damage on these skeleton archers. That is so disgusting, and it's so hard to stop that, too. Because, I'll tell you this. The only thing in the game that has more mass than a Stonehorn is the Chaos Dowie trains when they have more power activated. 7,500 is the best of the best in terms of mass on a big single entity monster. These things just do not care at all about what's in front of them. They will bulldoze through them if you allow them to. Pretty good damage thrown down on the Stonehorns, but the issue is that we've got push through from the Ogre Kingdoms. They've gotten all of the Tomb King's units on the #1 objective over and done with just about. You can see some Skelly Spears crumbling down. The last few Tomb Guard halberd are hanging in. All the archers dead now. And Ogre Bulls and Noblars stacked together, occupying the attention of these Skeleton Horsemen and Eyes of the Desert. Eyes of the Desert taking quite a bit of HP damage here, in fact. Now the Stonehorns look to be trying to find some better targets. Does look like the Blood Vultures were used a little inefficiently by Manlon. That's been the only issue I've seen. Golg's Maneaters need to move up. They're very strong at clearing out bodies and elites alike, just with their good stats and decent bonus versus infantry. Huge whiff on this Maw cast here. Just would have been better to use your Troll Guts on your Stonehorns. The numbers are thinning out a little bit for Manlaw. Just healing the Stonehorns up to about full HP with an Overcast Troll Guts would be a really good way to frustrate your opponent's efforts. They poured a lot of damage into these guys, and just healing it back up to full would be kind of a BM type of move. It would definitely get your opponent thinking about just how hard of an uphill grind it would be to get back in a game. Nonetheless, you've still got a value lead for Manlom. Back pressure is being cleaned up a little bit. You got the Screaming Skull Catapults able to hang in here thanks to Necropolis Knights pushing back the Blood Vultures that landed on them. Ogre Bulls, Pigback Riders routing here. Is the desert safe now? Gonna be able to maneuver back in. Use those laser eyes just to zap the big Stonehorns if possible. Finally getting a meat feast actually, not the Troll Guts. So gonna be popping that. Getting some great healing in on that Stonehorn. You can see just how much HP is healed per tick. It is filthy healing, man. I mean, it's so nice to be able to throw that down. And just watch your monster go from about a third of its HP up to a little bit over half, I would say. Tomb Guard getting trampled over here. We've got the Golg's Maneaters in combat now. You can see them not giving too much of a hoot about being on top of some spears because of their armor. They just hold so nicely. Even with the Horse Archers poking them, they'll be able to stay alive for a little while longer. Adaptive Tactics is proccing since they're technically losing combat. They get a nice little buff. Gives them some more stats so they can start to swing it back around. Mournfang Cavalry in here. Pigback Riders doing a lot of buffering against the Tomb Guard. You see, the Tomb Guard just can't find any way to value trade. They're too static, and the Ogres are maneuvering way too effectively. Stonehorn's getting a little beat up, but we finally get the Troll Guts. Very strong heal. About 25% with how long it lasts. Right, how long does it last? 35 seconds, so 0.8, yeah, thereabouts, so, definitely helping that Stonehorn immensely. You can see it holding through quite a bit of damage. It's on top of Sepulchral Stalkers and Necropolis Knight Halberds right now, and it's still just, ticking away right now. Slaughtermaster with a Great Maw Magic is, poking. Doesn't have the Bloody Cleaver this time, which is a little bit hazardous for him to stick in here then. Just keeping him back and trying to find something a little bit easier to beat up on would be much more worthwhile. Although you don't even need to fight anything. Just keep him in the woods, away from any sources of damage, and cast his magic if you can. Slaughtermasters are really only worth using in melee fights if they have Bloody Cleaver or some debuffs they can throw down. One Stonehorn, very, very tattered. The other, doing a little bit better, but still looking a little bit worse for wear. 2200 value on the Stonehorn, though, is great. Already up-traded a little bit. It's also, Cetra's just not been able to do anything. He's been so passive back here. He has one model kill. 17 value on Cetra is just atrocious. You have to get more out of him. If you're not going to use Cetra on horseback aggressively to try and snipe your opponent's Lord or to counter big monsters like these Stonehorns, then you're better off with Kotep at that point. Because Kotep can nullify your opponent's casting with his Lich Staff, plus he's got some little Darude Sandstorms that are bound, that are really good at clearing out chaff, like the Noblars. Can be very effective against them. I think you'd be better off there if you're not going to use Cetra aggressively. More Necropolis Knight Halberds on the field. You can see, though, that the Tomb Kings just can't do this. They're struggling so badly just to cap their home objective back. And you see that bad cap weight really rearing its head here. God, dude, are they going to capture this in the next 10 seconds? Looks like they're finally going to be able to flip this, but man, oh man, triple cap being held by the Ogre Kingdoms for quite a while there is getting them nice and set up for the late game hold and waited out approach. Pretty beat up Ogre Bull unit against the Necropolis Knight Halberds here, and actually putting some work in on them. These guys were looking pretty set earlier, but now very, very low on HP for how much they've had to fight. I mean, really just a handful of units brought them quite low here. Stonehorn poking from the back. It's got 1400 value. It's been used very conservatively here in the mid-game. But now after this Troll Guts, I would try and just send it forward to go beat up on any of the infantry that's out here. Maybe chase back the Skeleton Horse Archers. Anything of that nature. Or now there's proper infantry for it to trample over. Just run it in. Get up on the flank and just charge right down the flank of that whole unit, man. 2700 here. Awesome performance. Mornfang Cavalry struggling to disengage right now. They're pretty caught up on all the bodies here. I don't imagine them holding out much longer, but shouldn't matter too much. Ogre Kingdoms still have a decent amount of units left. They got a lot of supplies, too. Phew, excuse me. What I'd like to see here... Alright, yeah, Powder Guts work. Definitely get those guys out. Really nice save. Manlam, knowing that he's got the lead here and his opponent's playing from behind, is taking advantage of the fact that his opponent's going to have to maneuver up to the point aggressively and bringing out a very nice ranged tool to poke down stuff like Ushabti. These pistols hit like a truck, dude. They will make pretty short work of those armored monstrous infantry. Ogres do need a little help on the middle, though. I would definitely think about getting, maybe a Pigback Rider and then an Ogre Bull after that to go to the middle. Just hang on to it. You could bunker up on the number 2, though. I guess it wouldn't be the worst idea. There is quite a lot incoming from the Tomb Kings. You can see Pigback Riders losing their nerve and routing here. I don't know what the heck is going on there. I've been seeing that quite a bit recently, where leadership breaks on units and then they immediately rally to well over the breaking point. I really don't know what that's all about. Yeah, pistol shots taking like 300 or 400 HP out of the Ushabti every time. These Powder Guts are getting a volley off. They've been really making their impact felt here. Being able to wear the Ushabti down before they even get into combat is great, because Powder Guts are also an excellent melee unit. I mean, genuinely excellent stats at 50 and 52. They too are allowed adaptive tactics for the extra melee defense and melee attack. Adds up very quickly in terms of what they're able to do. Golg's Maneaters, not the most cost-effective game from them, but pretty decent work overall. Golg's Maneaters are typically best supported with a little bit of heals, magic, or the army abilities. And that's where they can really shine, because they accept heals very nicely with their HP pool of 10,000, and then they can just continue grinding with their good stats. And that's usually how they uptrade for you. If they're just fighting and not getting any heals at all, they're usually a little bit less strong. Powder Guts are trying to help the Butcher kill Cetra here. Cetra is running for his life right now. Stops in the open field a little bit, but thankfully right behind the forces of the Ogre Kingdoms here. Getting a little bit of blockage from the pistol fire for a moment. But Stonehorn moves over. Is getting stepped on now. Oh my god, and overcasts a spell and blows himself up and does huge damage. there, and then just crumbles out into oblivion. That's a pretty embarrassing way to go for Cetra, honestly. You hate to see it. Many such cases, guys. Ogres just bunkered up on the number 2. I didn't really think it was the way to go, but Manlom proving me wrong here. Really nice win. Seen one of the stone horns over here is unfortunately fallen. Fell straight backwards too. Owie. Yeesh. Powder Guts and their signature look of superiority with these cocky hats. Who do they think they are? They're no pirates. Be curious to see when Dogs of War come out. Supposedly they are something CA has said they would add in the past. Don't know if that's actually going to end up being the case, but it'd be really cool. And I'm pretty sure that the Powder Guts would be a part of them, at least as an ROR. If anybody knows otherwise, please correct me, though. Ask for advice as Kislev lost Orcs. Been from dominant Boar. Yeah, Boar Boy Biggins are really nasty. Boar Boy Biggins love fighting heavy cap factions because obviously with the AP damage they have and charge bonus but weak stats, that's their best target. So Kislev needs to play pretty carefully against the Greenskins. They really don't want to use a whole bunch of cavalry here, unlike a lot of other matchups. Kislev Monster Mash is really strong here, especially with a Tempest Ice Witch. Yeah, with Hawks and Miska. Oh, she's not on the Frostworm though. Oh man, okay. We'll talk about it here then. The Frostworms are the best mount for your caster because you got a lot of HP, decent amount of armor, still have your good Lord magic with the Hawks of Miska debuffing leadership against the low leadership faction, which is really strong. And you can use her aggressively against the Boar Cavalry because Greenskin Boar Cav does not have ITP. If you can use the Frostworms to support your cavalry in the mobile game, then you can actually beat up on the Boar Boy Biggins. You just have to get those terror routes timed up really nicely to get maximum impact. Little Grom is a great tool against the Greenskins, can hit expensive stuff like Black Orcs, and then also wear down the Rugloods, which are in pretty much every single Greenskins game. Just by far one of the best RORs. Crazy good range for a Greenskin Archer unit. 160 range, as opposed to the 140 on the Air Boys, and I think the Gobos have like 110 or 115 or something, so really cool to see these guys around. They're a mainstay at this point. I do like bringing the Kislevite Warriors for the front line. I don't know about Kossars here. Kossars are 450 gold. Guess against all the light armor, they can definitely get some work done. And with the Kislevite Warriors in front, maybe they'll have that time. Yeah, I guess that's fine. I was gonna recommend Armored Kossars, but I'm thinking about it now, and Squig Hoppers, and a whole bunch of other units can kind of beat up on Armored Kossars for a pretty cheap asking price. So I do kind of like the priority here for Kislev. Spreading the shooting out a lot here, and that is a really nice Purple Sun. Huge damage to the Kislevite Warriors. Good response, though, pulling back with the Kossars as they're just trying to flee the scene, so to speak. Lazuka, though, with great focus fire. And the Kislevite Warriors are getting pounded right now. Little Grom with some great shots there. Where is it? Oh. Right here. 91 value. Another nice, accurate shot against the Rugloods. Got the Warlords boys out here. Nice Night Goblin ROR. Sunder's armor has ITP. Leadership is a little low because they're goblins, but it's decent enough that they're reasonably fighty and worth having. Yeah, man. This is where a sweeper unit would be really nice. Yeah, Cossack Dervishes getting a rear charge here should break the leadership on the Warlords boys. Good response, also turning some of the Kossars around to hammer into the back of these dudes. Kislevite Warriors, though, getting folded up on the front line. The Orc boys with the Archer Fire have been more than a match for them. The Kislev forces with their low DPS and melee combat just not equal to this task right now. Good Winged Lancer charge getting the Orc boys and trouncing them a little bit. Griffin Legion is generally better than the Winged Lancers, though. My recommendation is to make sure that you always have at least one Griffin Legion in your army. You'll be surprised how much better they do than Winged Lancers. You might look at them on paper and think that there's not that much of a difference between the two, but I promise you, the Griffin Legion are much better at uptrading.
Take it back.
Boarboy Biggins just running down Horse Archers. This is the problem with bringing Skirmish Cav against the Greenskins usually, is the pressure from these heavily armored boars. You just can't shoot them down quickly enough with your bow cavalry. If you spend a whole bunch of time running away with your cav as well, then you're kind of missing out on good momentum. We've got Things in the Woods overextending into the Orc boys here. I mean, they do have Woodsmen, so they're not losing stats right now, but the Boarboy Biggins will make very short work of them with his rear charge. You can see the HP starting to melt off of those poor beasties. Nice shot from Little Grom, just dunking on the Black Orcs right now. Black Orcs, though, still fairly healthy. Don't have any value to speak of on one. The other only has 121. Really not impressive at all from them. Another great shot on the Rugloods, but it's been slow going getting rid of this unit. They've shrugged off quite a bit of the Little Grom's fire, and Little Grom should definitely be hitting the Boar Boys right now. By far the most effective target that they could be dealing with, because you really want to use your cavalry as Kislev to clear out the greenskin bodies. The less time they spend fighting stuff like Broken Tusk Mob, the better. Broken Tusk Mob gonna be charging in against the Things in the Woods, gonna make very short work of the poor Chaos Doggies. These guys just not holding up at all. Things in the Woods are a great counter to Black Orcs. You just can't afford to let them get engaged on by anti-large stuff because of their very low armor and how squishy they have, or how squishy their HP is. Jeez Louise. Struggling a little bit with that sentence there. Bullboy Biggins pulling back. Goblin's going to come in and replace and just keep Kislev off balance here. Redskins are doing a good job of grinding this out. Kislev had the advantage early in terms of tickets, but that's definitely not the case any longer. Roderick is behind in the value trade game, though, still, and it's just not enough of an advantage here. It's just taken too long to kill a lot of these units. Especially with Little Grom maybe over-focusing on the Rugloods here. I mean, it's nice to get a little bit of damage on those dudes, but you've got a lot bigger fish to fry with the Boarboy Cavalry, so definitely try and prioritize them first next time. You've got other ways of dealing with Ruglets. You know, you can get your own focus fire going against them. You can use magic on those guys. A whole bunch of better options than using your super expensive single entity RDPs. Beautiful purple Son of Xerius from Azag. Which value does this knucklehead have? Almost 1,000 value, and that's really damn good considering he's on foot. So really, the spellcasting has been his only way to really contribute outside of the Slag of Slashes buffs. Those buffs are definitely nice, but they're really pretty mediocre compared to some of the other lords who can buff their allies in this game. Skulltaker especially is who I'm thinking of, since they're both very short-range buffs of 35 meters. Skulltaker's does it just a little bit better because he's got two technically. Totem of Endless Bloodletting is the same as Slag of Slashes, but Revel in Slaughter gives another 8 melee attack and melee defense. Man, Black Orcs have been a huge letdown. Little Grom has been hammering those guys really nicely as of late. That's definitely allowed it to really rack up the value that was lacking earlier, as it was just shooting at the Ruglets exclusively earlier on. More Orc boys coming up. A beautiful Hawks of Miska, guys. Absolutely gorgeous. It is not going to rout this RR Night Goblin. It's always so funny that the 8-peak loons, whenever you get into game, it just says it's a basic Night Goblin, but you know it's the loons because they have the actual ability and then Unbreakable on top of that. I don't know why it's bugged out that way, but that's kind of par for the course right now. Game's definitely a little buggy, but I would say for multiplayer it's less of an issue than campaign. Most of the bug problems that I've seen people commenting on are campaign AI stuff. In actual battles, it's really just a handful of issues with like bugged animations from units. As long as you're playing against people, you won't be seeing some of the more annoying AI bugs. Little Grom getting unsummoned, just paying for itself, but paid for itself, and then you get the rebate, so you're actually getting a lot of value out of the Little Grom just by taking it off the battlefield. I believe if you use all of Little Grom's ammo and unsummon it at full HP, you get 600 supplies, thereabouts. I'm not sure the exact total, but it's an appreciable amount for an expensive faction like Kislev. Can definitely allow you a little bit of momentum on the summoning front. Roderick just trying to stay scrappy and get back into the game, but the Greenskins have just kind of overwhelmed Kislev, and the Oath Brothers are going way too deep back here. And that's a really nice Spirit Leech. Spirit Leech is actually super effective against these monstrous type of units with 16 models. You know, the strong versus characters and causes damage to combatants is like your only hint that that's what it's effective against, but Spirit Leech, the way it works against these types of units is the 33 to 67 damage is applied to one model at a time. It's random which one it hits, but it does very consistent damage to these guys, and since the units are very small, the HP damage is very, very efficiently spread around onto the models in the unit, so they're much easier to kill. Yeah, that's rough for Kislev, too. That's an 1,850 gold unit, and they just went way too deep. If they had just rallied back to go and help on the number 2 for a moment and maybe maneuvered elsewhere, then they wouldn't have gotten swarmed by all the bodies here. Rusty Arrows are out on the field, a nice unit to have in the back pocket for the Greenskins. Armor Sundering Night Goblin Archers. They can definitely cause some problems for a faction like Kislev, who does have decently heavy armor units, but a lot of those are like in the 80 to 70 range. thinking of armored Kossars and Streltsy specifically. It'll take them down to 50 and 40 armor respectively if they get hit by the armor-sundering missiles. And then stuff like Zargard will go to about 70 armor, so there's a lot of utility for those guys. And they can also shoot Winged Lancers and Griffin Legion, too. It's less about the raw value on the Rusty Arrows and what they help you deal with a little bit more effectively. So yeah, you can see the Winged Lancers actually going down to 50 armor there, with their base value of 80 being debuffed. Gonna get a good charge on the Savage Orc Arrow Boys, but there's Boar Boy Biggins charging in from behind. It's gonna be kind of hard for these guys to disengage. They're gonna have to like run her all the way around the battlefield almost. Good response from Roderick. Roderick's been making plays. I think, though, that this really is just a prime example of why you need the Frost Worms. Because this Frost Switch has just not been impactful outside of the magic, and the terror for the late game and the mobility fights is so clutch, man. I promise you will not be disappointed having a Frost Worm that can just rush in and stack on top of its cavalry and get terror routes on Boar Boy Biggins. Just have like a foot patriarch in reserve that you can bring out and run back to with the Frost Worm when you need it. Get Solyak's heals and profit. Black Orc Great Weapons fighting on the point here. Kossovite Dervishes surrounding Azag. Azag is actually at 1500 value. Good for him, man. He's a really cool model. His glowing green eyes give him a really, like, sick feel. You know, you can, like, really feel him emanating that, like, wah energy. Lancers, man. Cool looking unit. Very cost effective, but a little bit outclassed because of the AP and the Boar Boys. Have to get them the help. Otherwise, you're just going to get overwhelmed. No, don't worry about it, PK. I actually cast one of your games for the opener on stream. So if you want a little bit of advice on Beastmen, then go back to the beginning of stream and check that out. And I can also help you out if you DM me on Discord, because I main Beastmen and I can give you some pretty good advice on how to utilize them. Beastmen are not very beginner friendly. I would definitely advise you, if you're used to playing on slower speeds in single player, to maybe think about picking another faction, because Beastmen are excellent, but they require a massive amount of micro to get the most out of them. If you pick somebody else like Khorne that has like more durable units, then you'll be a little bit less stressed as you kind of get your feet in the multiplayer scene, and you can maybe focus in a little bit more on the fundamentals, and that'll make your transition to the multiplayer side a little bit easier. That would be my 2 cents. We'll see you around another time, Fabrosi. Don't worry about it, man. It seems like it was a really fun tournament. I was busy protesting and celebrating my birthday, so I missed the usual tourney time. That's why we're here much later than normal and going through it now. We've seen a lot of really cool stuff. Zuka's build is very fun. It's got a lot of fairly standard elements, but Azag on foot is really fun off meta. The Black Orcs didn't really do all that well, but, I mean, they attracted and occupied a lot of the shooting from the Kislev army, and I think that's part of the reason why the Greenskins had so much success. Like, Kislev was clearing units out, but they kept running into not only, like, the Boar Boys were extremely cost-efficient that game, but also just the fact they had to spend so much time clearing out the great weapons here definitely hurt them in the long run. And the Hammer of Gork was on the field for pretty much the whole game. And the blinded debuff that this thing provides is excellent against shooting factions. Because blinded does lower melee stats, and it does lower the melee stats a little bit more than the accuracy, but the minus 30 accuracy does hurt when your opponent has so many missiles that they're maybe a little over-reliant on it for the value trading. This is a pretty solid reserve group here. I would maybe think about... I don't know about the Watchmen and the Knight. They're a fairly weak unit against fighty melee factions. Watchmen and the Knight are really good at clearing out chaff, and Greenskins do have a lot of chaff, quote-unquote, but there's huge power spikes because of the Wa ability, and they can kind of get beat up because Kossars don't have an amazing HP pool. The Watchmen are maybe a little bit better against other factions. I don't know about here. Maybe getting rid of them and one of the Things in the Woods and getting a Griffin Legion in here and maybe another Kossovite Dervish would be a good idea. Because you do want to have some cav waiting in the wings, because you gotta be able to contest the mobility game a little bit. You can't just get totally swarmed out by the Boar Boy cavalry. But, yeah. Get this Ice Switch on the Frostworm. You can cut the little Grom to do that in the early going. I think it's... yeah... How much is the... Let's actually go and see what the Kislev build would be here. So you got the Ice Switch, give her the Tempest Magic, Hawks of Miska. Hailstorm is good. It's a lot like Searing Doom. Ostensibly, they're the same. If you just look at the tooltips between Hailstorm and Searing Doom, you'll see that it looks like the same spell. 200 meter cast range, 36 range damage, 33%, explosive damage, 30, 100% AP, 40 missiles, 6 winds of magic for both, I believe, as well. The difference, though, between these two is that Hailstorm has a slightly more constricted strike area, and it's especially noticeable on the Overcast version. Overcast Searing Doom actually spreads out the strike area quite a bit. Hailstorm is about the same size as the regular one. You just get double the amount of missiles. But the Hailstorm drops its missiles much slower than Searing Doom. So it can be a little less powerful. Hawks of Miska is the much better spell to be focusing in on. It's just good to have this as a backup. I do like Iron Ice Armor. Get rid of Freezing Winds. It's okay. Although, actually, I think it's worth bringing against Greenskins now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, bring Freezing Winds, because you can just cast... both these spells are, you know, like, fairly affordable. You'll get plenty of casting in over the course of a game so that you can kind of wear down your opponent, and being able to slow up their really annoying anti-cav units for minus 25% speed for 12 seconds can make a difference as to whether you get caught or not. So something like this. You can still get Little Grom in here, and you got 1,300 supplies left, so you could do... if you want to do double Horse Archer, you can. It's not a bad way to go. Actually, yeah, do the double horse archer. Why not? They're pretty damn reliable. Nice unit to have. Maybe just cut 2 of those Kossars and get 2 Kossar spears for a little bit of flank defense. They do have charge defense versus large and reflections, so they can kind of hold in the back line and protect the other 2 Kossars who you can bunch up in the middle of the formation a little bit more. Get a Patriarch on foot. You can get him on the Warhorse, but just save the 200 gold and just have this guy trot in and just run the Frostworm back whenever it needs heals. Solyax is a really nice amount of healing. And on the Ice Witch with the Frostworm, 8,000 HP, the percentage-based healing. If you get all 3 uses off on her, she will have... how much healing is it? I could do the math. I'm not going to do the math in my head right now. Give or take, if you get all 3 uses off, you're going to be getting about 3 to 3,500 HP extra on the Ice Witch if you get all the Solyax on her. Which can be really nice. And you can just unsummon the Patriarch and let him regen in the reinforcement pool and bring him back out to do more healing elsewhere, or go run up into the front line at that point. Whatever you need him to do there. I prefer my Patriarchs nice and cheap so I can fill in with Griffin Legion, Winged Lancers, and the like. Something like this could be a good mobility force. You can get a Things in the Woods just so you can kill Black Orcs and whatnot. You already got your little Grom in the opener. A couple Armored Kossars wouldn't be a bad idea. They're a pretty stalwart unit, very safe against missiles. Greenskins actually do bring a lot of archers oftentimes. Saw in that last game, they had a decent number of them. These guys can come out with their pistols and poke at some units from flanks, rush up and be a really good line holder. Or you can do a couple Zarguard. Either or. I think maybe go for the slightly cheaper Armored Kossars, and then you can back them up with some other heavy-hitting units. Oh yeah, get the Oath Brothers of Tor in here. I know they were in there. You just can't over-pursue with the Oath Brothers because they're so expensive, and they just get wrecked when they get surrounded because their models are so big. They're very easily poked down by just about anything. Keep them safe and supported, and they will actually do some good work for you. And do something like this. It'd be a fairly good all-rounder build for Greenskins. There's some other mixing and matching you can do in here. You can not bring any infantry in reserve if you want. I think it's worth it. You can also do Armored Kossar great weapons, just to hedge your bets for any armored infantry. Like, your opponent had Black Orcs that last game. You know, these guys can put a little bit more damage in there just because they have a majority AP. They can also do some good damage in melee to the Boar Boys. Really, the way you handle the Boar Boys, though, is to terror route them and then chase them off the field with the Dervishes. It's just a much safer bet, and then you can also countercharge the Oath Brothers. You don't want to really contest them head up. You want to try and shoot down all of the orcs from afar with your bows and whatnot. The ROR Elemental Bear. I have actually seen people use the Elemental Bears and get some really good value with them. They're not really my bet for a super strong and effective unit, but I could see it working decently against the Greenskins. If you're feeling brave, then you should do the Elemental Bear. Let's check out some Norska versus Zinchir. We've got Sourdough and Gordon Ramsay. Amazing dirty name. We'll see if the power of a name is able to overwhelm one of the best factions in the game. Norsca really doesn't have that many bad matchups, although I would say that Tzeentch might be one that they really struggle with. Changebringers are a wicked strong unit, and Norsca's got a lot of pretty weak to fire damage type units. I mean, Trolls, Skin Wolves, all of them just get wrecked by fire damage as is. Add in the extra damage from the less armor with the Warp Flame, as well as the extra weakness to fire. Talking about some pretty wicked stuff that Tzeentch can do, especially with the Changebringers who just wail on everything. I'm a little surprised to not see any Javelin Marauders. We got Marauder Horsemen with the Javelins, but massively outnumbered by the Marauder Horsemen of Tzeentch. Really like that choice from Gordon because they control Skin Wolves very easily. Skin Wolves are a decently quick unit, but they can't quite close on Marauder Horsemen safely. And Tzeentch can just develop out like Centaurs to countercharge. The ROR Screamers are a pretty good option, and then you can always just bathe things on fire with like the Changebringers. You can see Marauder, great weapons getting lit up here. Just 2 volleys gonna bring him pretty low. Actually gonna pull back, good call. Definitely want to maneuver this thing over and try and hit the War Mammoth, I would say. Changebringers are pretty effective against infantry, but it's really against single entities where the Changebringers shine. Do have Gaze of Fate on Kairos. You've got a Feral Manticore out. Oh, and another Changebringer on the field immediately. And there you go. 2,000 HP off of the War Shrine Mammoth. War Shrine Mammoths are one of the scarier single entities in the game. They give massive buffs to the Norskins. Leadership and the Phys Res and Vigor Reduction. Even though magic damage is on every unit on the Tzeentch roster, the Vigor Reduction is way more important anyways. So even though you're not getting the benefit out of the Phys Res, you've still got the Vigor Reduction element, which is the more consistent part of that kit anyways. Plus the leadership. Leadership is always good. You see Norsca struggling on the number 1. If your opponent has a very fast army, you've got a huge infantry opener, don't push all 3 points, because their mobile elements will just pick apart the isolated side objectives. And you can see that happening here. I mean, it's a very slow push from Gordon. He yields the triple cap, but because he had it early, he's only just now getting lapped by Sourdough in the ticket arena, while doubling up the value. And look at the Marauder Horseman getting melted here. Excellent Gaze of Fate just to kill this one unit. Might seem like a bit of an overinvestment for a 550 gold skirmish piece, but just to ensure that your Changebringers are at maximum safety, I think it's worth it, because Changebringers are very squishy. Just like 1 or 2 volleys from the Javelins could wreck right through that 3,200 HP pool that they have. And now they get to bully the Mammoths some more. Poor Mammoth getting bathed in fire, and yeah, there you go. Just a 24 Marauder Horsemen poking up into the shields pretty effectively. Imagine if they were full health and there were like 2 or 3 more of them, and they could actually get underneath these guys the way they want to. This is just way too much infantry from Sourdough. Tzeentch loves roasting down lightly armored infantry, man. They've got so many good tools for it. The Javelin Horsemen, Blue Horrors, Pink Horrors, Changebringers, Flamers, Exalted Flamers, Blue Fire, Pink Fire from their mages. That's a beautiful set of shots into the Feral Manticore, man. And now we get the Tzeentch army ability, the Doom Bolt. I can't remember what it's called. Bolt of Change, I think is what it's called. It's basically a Doom Bolt, though. It's the tier 2 army ability. Doing some good damage to Wolfric. Changebringers are just kind of milling around. It'd be really nice to see some flank fire in here against all these Marauders who are stuck on the blue horrors right now. Looks like that might be happening, although actually it's going to be a Gaze of Fate and then double Changebringer fire just to bully poor Wolfric. Oh my god, dude. I mean, that's just not fair. Wolfric not loving life right now, and the Changebringer's missing Wolfric, but getting collateral damage on the Marauder champions nonetheless, so Tzeentch can do no wrong right now. They are getting everything that they could possibly want in terms of engagements. Most of the Norscan infantry is pretty tattered here. Warshrine Mammoth has done nothing. It's got one value. Whoop-de-doo. And it's at 4,700 HP, so it's taking some pretty hideous work. Triple cap for Norska, though. Tzeentch does need to start thinking about getting up on the points of some infantry to start capping these away. Maybe using the Marauder Horsemen a little bit more aggressively to cap points. You also are going to want to unsummon the Changebringers now that they're out of ammo and get your rebates so you can start summoning out some units that can get up on the points. Chaos Knights of Tzeentch, good summon, getting after the Marauders over here. Very nice mobile tool. Chaos Knight's biggest problem is they can get worn down by numbers. The Tzeentch Knights tend to be much more effective than the other Chaos Knight variants because of their overshield. They can hit and run really well. If they can just do that all game, it should be a fairly easy cleanup against all of these Marauders who, don't have a lot of armor to protect them. And they can also fold up Norscan Ice Wolves. Norscan Ice Wolves are a pretty annoying unit, so Chaos Knights are excellent at cleaning up those nasty little doggos. Blue fire being used against the Ice Wolves. Really what you should do right now as Tzeentch here in this mid-game stage is use the blue fires to finish Wolfric off so you can break leadership and start looking for terror routes once you've killed Wolfric with Kairos. That's the whole point of having terror-causing monsters, is to be able to land in on top of units from the rear and just insta-route entire positions. Not doing that right now is definitely leaving some stuff to chance that really shouldn't be, and Sourdough is somehow even this game out. Sourdough is really scrappy, man. Somehow, some way, finding success against a lot of these Tzeentchian units, but Kairos is able to finish off the Warshrine Mammoth. You need to focus in on these points now. Norskins are really beat up, though. I still don't know if they're going to be able to hold this. They keep summoning out more and more Marauders. It's still not looking good for them. You got some Marauders here. It'd be nice to see some Zangors. I don't know if Gordon has any in this army, though. Gotta unsummon the Changebringers, dude. No reason to use them to charge stuff. They're awful in melee combat. They cannot do anything. Not worth the amount of damage that they can put out to have these guys on the field right now. Unsummon them and get your money back, please. I'm begging you. And then you can have them regen their ammo in reserve, and they can come out and finish off any annoying units that you really need to hammer into. Norscan Warhounds coming in to stall the cap for a moment. Not a bad call, since you've got the triple cap still, and the ticket situation is looking real bad. This is why Changebringers should never, ever, ever, ever be used in melee. I mean, they rush down on top of Marauder great weapons and get slaughtered pretty unceremoniously. I mean, they're getting a little bit of work done, but it is not worth what you could be getting out of the unsummon. You could have had this other Chaos Knight out a couple minutes ago if you had just unsummoned these guys. Oh, man, I think Norska's gonna win this. I think that Gordon is just not gonna have the cap weight to do this. tried and true infantry stuffing strategy actually coming in pretty clutch right now. Marauder Great Weapons holding up some Marauders of Tzeentch here. Blue Horrors going for the #1, taking a while to get over there. Marauder Horsemen waiting in the wings. Another Blue Fire going down. So many Blue Fires from Kairos, man. I just don't like Kairos. I really just feel like Sartorial is always a better option, in my opinion. If you're not going to use Blue Fire to snipe the enemy lord, then I don't know why you're wasting your time bringing a character that has absolutely no melee combat stats. Kairos has 35 melee attack and 20 melee defense. He is god-awful at fighting anything. Like, you bring Kairos for the Gaze of Fate so you can get picks early. And Gordon got the picks, but then did not follow up with them. And kept the Changebringers out too long so that he couldn't get the refund. If you unsummon the Changebringers after they use all their ammo and they have, like, most of their HP, you're getting, like, 700 supplies back. Like, you can unsummon both of those guys and you've got a Chaos Knight on the field immediately. You cannot pass that up. Just bring Sartorial next time. Sartorial has the best lore in the entire game. He's got great combat stats. He hits like a truck. He's got great weapon strength. 56 and 56. You can bring some of his abilities if you want, but really all you need is Searing Doom, Plague of Rust, Final Transmutation, and Rock of Inevitability. And Final Transmutation to snipe lords. And single entity blobs, Searing Doom to punish blobbed up cavalry or infantry positions, Plague of Rust on, you know, whatever your heart desires. And you can fly in, keep things from running away, lower their melee defense, and just terror out them instantly, man. I can't tell you how many games I've won with Sartorial just getting oodles of value by being an absolute nightmare in combat and from afar with the spell casting. What the hell is... Oh, here's Kairos. You can see that Kairos, if you pare him down to just the Gaze of Fate and his Blue Fire, he is very affordable. But you lose so much momentum once you're out of magic with Kairos, because, like I said, he just can't land on the ground. Greenskins versus Vampire Counts. Yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah, thank you guys. It's been a good birthday. Don't have a history of using monsters, suppose. Yeah, that's understandable. I don't really love going with single entities on my main factions, personally. Evangelos, I play Khorne and Beastman. Khorne has no good monsters other than the Soul Grinder. You know, this Soul Grinder used to be a joke, but this is actually one of the better disruptive monsters in the game. I get great value out of this in the matchups it's good in. I love me a Soul Grinder. It's like the only one that I'll use on Khorne, though. Bloodthirsters are god-awful. Slaughter Brutes are just lackluster. They don't really do anything special. Blood Brute, Behemoth is too expensive. The Beastmen have good monsters. They've got Jabberslies, Elemental is good in a couple matchups. Not as good on the Beastman roster as it is for Kislev, ironically enough. I have More Sleep is another really good one, but yeah, it's all about when and where. There is a time and place for everything. The reason that you want to bring single entities as Kislev is just because Kislev supports them so well. I mean, you've got Patriarch healing. It's pretty unrivaled in terms of its efficiency. The Patriarchs have gotten their heals nerfed so many times. They used to have a perpetual heal item when the game released, and for several patches after that. Anytime you can bring monsters that have access to healing, you should 100% take advantage of that. The factions that have the best single entities would be Norska, Bretonia, technically. I mean, they're lords of the single entities, but, you know, they're a big investment, like Lewin on Beaquist and Alberic on Tempet, I guess. I have no idea. Tomb Kings have great single entities. Ogre Kingdoms, Lizardmen. High Elves? High Elves actually have some really good single entities as well. Chaos Dwarfs, they've got frickin' trains. Iron Demons are such a nightmare. Kislev, like I said. It's kind of funny that Warriors of Chaos, Khorne, I would even go so far as to say Nurgle. Nurgle has like one good single entity, that's the Noxbringer. All the other ones are kind of garbage. They're either too slow or too expensive. Oh, Greenskins have the Gumballs and the Arachnarok Flingers. Those are pretty good single entities each. Acid Burpa especially. The Acid Burps, guys, if you ever want to watch something funny, use Acid Burps on top of a blob fight and watch how quickly this thing, like, nukes everything out of existence. Colossal Squigs have great collision attacks, and the ROR with its Vortex is just wicked strong. That's about it, though. Vampire Coast single entities are Garbo. Outside of Silostra on her crab, that's like the only one that you want to bring. All of that game knowledge comes with time, though, and there's a when and where for most units in the game. There's like maybe 2 or 3 units in the entire game that just actually are bad and don't have a single matchup they're good in. Most everything you can make work if you know the ins and outs of either your opponent's playstyle or their factions. Oh man. Oh man. Terrorgeist. We got a double Terrorgeist build here. It's a cool Vampire Counts army. Just going for the White Kings, double Terrorgeist, Strugo Ghoul King. I'm pretty sure this is him. This might be the I can't remember the difference between the two Strigoi. One has like a self-heal as well as the regeneration and whatnot. Oh, this is the Strigoi Vampire Lord. Yeah, this is the one with Spirit Leech, Invo. He's also got the Ghoul King of Usharan. That's the one I was thinking of. That's the really nice self-heal. It's very hard to snipe this guy out early. He can heal cap really early if you pop this and he gets beat up really badly, but should be fairly easy to maneuver him around. Greenskins hate terror-causing units. They really don't have very good defenses against that. Azag is going to get destroyed. If Cowboy Bob is smart, you just use Spirit Leech to bully Azag all game. You leech his life down, and then you land the Ghoul Kings in on him, or land the Ghoul King in on him just to smack him in the face a couple times, pull back, lower his leadership and HP, and wait for your opportunity to finish him off. I don't see Azag getting a whole lot done here. He's too squishy on foot. He's got a decent HP pool for a foot character, but 5,200 against the perpetual Spirit Leech is not nearly enough, man. Spirit Leech does so much work.
Keep it from the foe.
You can see, just one of them takes 700 HP off of him. A little bit less. 690 or whatever. Nice land here. You'd think this isn't a great fight for Terrorgeist, but you're just blobbing your opponent up a little. They don't have any mass to keep these Terrorgeists on the ground.
Victory point. Keep it from the foe.
You can just rampage around on the ground. You can allow some space for your zombies and Graveguard to move up without getting shot by the bowmen. You can, like, pull other units in. And you've always got the heals to fall back on. These things just get right back up in the air. Very unfortunate for the greenskins. Very fortunate for Cowboy Bob. Gonna be able to just fly back over now. Get up into the middle here and go bully Azag a little bit more. See, the Broken Tusk Mob is just kind of chilling. Really what the Broken Tusk Mob should do is just mirror wherever the Geists go. You just have to punish flyers when they land. Like, they can, like, vampire accounts can stay up in the air for a while, but at some point they've actually got to bring these things to the ground to get value out of especially the regular Terrorgeist, and that's when you really need to punish them. And Empire does seem to be aware of that. It's doing a pretty good job of mirroring the movements here. But yeah, there you go. Azag getting nailed by a Spirit Leech, and now both White Kings on top of him. That's a beautiful Purple Son of Xerius. Oh, no, that's from Azag, though, I think. Yeah, the Ghoul King does not have Purple Son of Xerius. Actually, nukes some of the Orc Boys. Oh, but there's a Graveguard in here. Okay, that was worth it, then. But Azag is going to die. There's just nothing that can be done about that. He is so screwed here. He's got White Kings on him. The Terrorgeists are all over him. There is damage coming in from afar, and it's poking in against the Strigoi Lord pretty nicely. I'm pretty sure that the only Lord that you can bring against the Vampire counts, if I had to guess, is going to be something like Grom. Really be just about the only thing that'd be worthwhile. You can see the Crypt Ghouls and the zombies getting folded up pretty nicely by the Swamp Thing. Look at the Swamp Thing's 101 kills and 98 value. It's not like Pump Wagon's running some stuff over, but one Graveguard Great Weapon has been grinding through some infantry pretty nicely. Stearnsman and Cryptars coming out. Gonna do some really nice damage. Dire Pack attacking Orc Boys. Although they do have 97 kills and 700 value. I'm not sure what they went and killed. Kill anything in the woods? They killed some Wolf Rider cavalry back here, it looks like. Really nice catch for them. The Greenskins have done some good damage, but the problem is they only have a 500 gold value lead, and that's going to wear off real quick. And Pump Wagons stuck up in the crypt. Oh my god, man. Stearnsman and Cryptars stacked together is such a wicked, nasty combo because you can't really effectively deal with one or the other in melee combat at that point. The only way that you can beat the Stearnsman and the Cryptars is by using the Bowmen to shoot down the Cryptars and then charging down the Stearnsman. That's kind of hard to do when you've got these big flyers bullying your lord like this. You've got to try and peel for Azag, but that's just impossible right now. It's beautiful Scab Scraith casts from the White Kings here. Very effective against lightly armored units. I'm trying to click on these guys. You get 3 uses. They've got about 500 value each, I would guess. And they're really consistent. They've got a lot of HP for foot characters, too. Especially heroes on foot. So, Spirit Leech goes down on the Vampire Lord, and he does get caught on the ground a little bit. Broken Tusk Mob surrounding him. The Swamp Thing's trying to do the same, but not quite able to keep him there. Terrorgeist actually nailing one of the Swamp Things with the Death Shriek. Nice damage out of that. Cryptars get in and are able to buffer out the mass, so Strigoi Vampire Lord going to get away scot-free, get back up in the air. I would just go after Azag here. You just fly after him and cast another Spirit Leech and make sure that he's dead. Once Azag is gone, the leadership of the Greenskins should fall apart here. It is a pretty close game, though. I'm really liking the pressure from Empire. He's doing a pretty good job of killing all the grounded forces. And if he could find a way to kill the Terrorgeist here, maybe he's got a chance at coming back. I'm just so worried for the late game when the terror-causing monsters here are able to really get the terror blobs going. Azag looks like he got hit by a Spirit Leech. I would guess the overcasted version came in. Down to 400 HP. He's going to get into the woods here.
Have the foe's victory point.
We'll see if Cowboy Bob's able to get the snipe. We've got some Devils of Schwarzhofen coming in. And yeah, here's the Stearnsman and the Cryptors fighting toe-to-toe. Pretty good value on both of them right now. They've got a lot of room to continue healing. Do lose the Corpse Cart down here. It's a big loss. Those Corpse Carts give a lot of buffs and heals to the Vampire Count units. Typically, they really need the overlapped heals and buffs to really cost-effectively trade. Once their Corpse Carts are down, Vampire Counts can run out of momentum. It looks like that might end up being the case here. Empire really starting to chip away at a lot of the units that the Counts are relying on at this point. Cryptar's over here, pretty beat up. Not looking too good right now. Orc, Goreboy, Biggins all over them. Just zombies buffering for them. It's good buffering, but the zombies themselves don't do any damage, so not really afraid of sitting on top of the zombies with the Goreboy Biggins there. Strigoi, Vampire Lord needs to be careful because he's just about heal capped. He's got 5,000 HP, but that gets worn out real quick by anti-large AP. And the Biggins are exceptional at being able to handle big single entities. They've got pretty good mass, so definitely going to be kind of hard to push out of there if you get fully surrounded by them. Thankfully, Devils of Schwarzhofen are here. Devils, though, struggling a bit. You know, they're a strong unit, but the Vargeists are pretty squishy. 6,000 HP and only 10 armor, 32 melee defense, so they get caught on the ground, surrounded, they fall apart pretty fast. Cryptar is out in the open field, a little too split away from the Stearnsman now for their own good, and get hit by the nasty Skulker smoke bomb of all things. I can't even think of the last time I saw somebody bring nasty Skulkers in a game. They're a very rare sight. They've got some utility, though, with this ability. Opportunistic Murder is also pretty decent. Gives them a nice little melee attack buff of 10 there, as you can see. Decent AP values. They can get some work done for sure. Yeah, Cryptar is down. You've got some routes here in the middle. The River Troll Hags running away. I usually advise against bringing regular River Troll Hags. If you need trolls as the greenskins, you should bring Stone Trolls. Stone Trolls are always the better bet if you're not just bringing the Swamp Things. Swamp Things are crazy good. They've got the extra leadership as an ROR. They've got much better stats than your standard troll. They've got overwhelming odor, and they cause terror, so unlike other trolls, they never ever terror out. Standard troll units are pretty cowardly in that respect. They will absolutely run away if a Terrorgeist lands on them. See a little bit of bullying going on out here. But the Vampire Counts, I think, overstretched themselves. They tried playing all 3 points instead of just focusing 1 point and securing the kill on Azag, and that's allowed Empire to be able to isolate the different battlefield positions, hold on to a lot of these caps. Look at him barely hanging on in the middle here. Just barely able to outcap the Vampire Count zombies here. Hang on to that point, and going to be walking away with a dominant win on objectives. And a decent advantage on the value trading as well. Not that crazy, but just enough here. Did a good job of killing the corpse carts. Those are always one of the most annoying units to have to deal with, man.
The enemy has captured one of your victory points. Take it back.
The less time that Counts have their passive heals all stacked up together, the more likely they are to run out of steam. Also, the Vigor Mortis ability. point it out here. Just had the one lodestone. This is unironically a good... This is actually a pretty good build for the greenskins. The Master Necromancer can just fly around and drop Raised Dead on stuff. I just need to cut something else here. Just get rid of that. Probably Gaze into Gash. Just fly around and drop buffs and zombie summons on top of all of the archers that the greenskins have. You got like the Cryptars and whatnot. 4 of them is pretty nasty. Unholy Lodestones. The Vigor Mortis gives perfect vigor as long as you're in the radius of it. Plus the melee defense and melee attack can be pretty nice. Mortis engines are also really good against greenskins. You've got the actual Mortis engine here, the Reliquary Corruption, that does a ton of damage. Mortis engines will get their value back in about 1 or 2 minutes if they're on top of enough units, because they hit everything in the 35-meter radius as long as they're in melee against something. Plus, they give another heal, and that heal does stack on top of the Unholy Lodestone heal, which is pretty freaking awesome. Plus, it gives magic attacks. Very good in some matchups. And you get a power recharge from it as well. It'd be worth mixing in there. There's a lot of things you can do as the Vampire Counts. I think the double Terror Guy... I think the second Terror Guys was a bit overkill. Like, good in theory to put pressure on Grom or somebody, but didn't really have enough targets there in that game to really maximize its potential. A Blood Knight in reserve instead of the Terrorgeist in the opening would have been pretty nice. And you could have mixed in the Sternsman early for 1150 and had another Unholy Lodestone behind that. I think you'd be able to get a Skeleton Spearman in as well. Another thing that's important to consider bringing, the Königstein Stalkers, it doesn't say here in the tooltip, regular skeletons have expendable cap weight. The Königstein Stalkers have full cap weight, even though they're really just a, you know, ROR skeleton warrior. A lot of people, I think, don't know that, but they're also an 80 armor skeleton warrior with poison. They're really annoying. They're way tankier than you might expect them to be. I've had a lot of success with bringing these guys in just to apply the poison on, like, a main position. The Corpse Cart support, Mortis engines, Cryptars underneath them. They can roadblock really nicely, and they're cheaper than Crypt Ghouls, who are much squishier. So they're a nice unit to like throw in for on the cheap and get the full cap weight that you're lacking as the Vampire Counts with all your other infantry options. Wind of Death can work to kill archers, but it's so expensive, dude. It's really not worth it, in my opinion. Just use the Scab Scraiths from the White Kings. Scab Scraith is just wicked strong. Use that to pressure them and zombie summon. I mean, people really discount how effective the zombie summons are. The whole point of summoning zombies from your casters isn't to kill anything. It's just to occupy attention. You get 7 summons as well. And they last a decent amount of time. Wish it would tell you how long the zombie summons last, but I'm pretty sure it's like 2 minutes. And archers can't fight off the summons themselves. They don't have the DPS to kill them before the timer runs out. If you just have the archers shut down for 2 minutes, you'll probably have been able to get through the front line with your corpse carts and cryptars and all these other like bodies and scary units that you can throw out. Blood Knights in reserve. You do need to be a little careful with Blood Knights against the greenskins, because they can get hammered by the AP attacks from the Boar Boys, but These guys just have really solid stats, and they have a great bonus versus large, even though they don't have amazing AP values. It's usually more than enough to wear out the, 80 armor from the greenskin boar boys. Yeah, 85. That's enough. Just have the Blood Knights running around and countercharging positions. And then have Vargeist and Cryptars kind of backing them up to countercharge anything that tries to countercharge them. You'll eventually win out there. Plus, these guys have missile resistance out of melee, so pretty safe to have running around in the back line. Your enemy archers aren't really going to do a whole lot of damage through the 110 armor and the 20% missile res. They've got the hunger as well, so they heal a little bit in melee combat. Add that in with all the stacking heals from all your other sources, and they will be wicked resilient. As long as you don't just, like, YOLO them into a truly awful spot. Plus, Blood Knights destroy, and I mean absolutely destroy, the Swamp Things. Swamp Things have, like, no armor. Their stats are decent for a troll, but they're not nearly good enough to survive a Blood Knight. Plus, being 16-unit, strong, monstrous infantry unit, cavalry, with anti-large attacks, will be swarming all around them. So there will be, like, multiple Blood Knights poking through these guys' terrible armor. Let's watch some Scarbrand, dude. We haven't seen any Khorne today. Or wait, did we? I think we saw one other Khorne game. So one more here. Scarbrand, super fun character. One of the best duelists in the game, but he's a bit of a two-pump chump, is kind of how I think of Scarbrand. He comes in, and you try and get Lord Snipes early with him, or force fights with the Rage Embodied. Good skirmish and kite play around Scarbrand will just make him useless. If he is not engaged on anything sufficiently expensive, he just gets poked down by, like, garbage skirmish cav. And he has no way to sustain through it. His armor is decent. He's got Fizz Res. He's got the spell resistance. He's an annoying unit to wear out, but he's pretty manageable to work around for the most part. Slaughter and Carnage is here. Does that Bellow of Endless Fury? I do like this kit from Scarbrand. The only thing I would think about adding in is Wrathful Reaper, because I have found it to be pretty useful. It's a huge buff to his weapon strength. Really nice for stacking with the Rage Embodied. You rampage your opponent into you, pop Wrathful Reaper, and you rampage right on top of their single entities and beat them up. He might have a little bit of trouble with 2 War Sphinxes. The way you work around that, though, what you do is Khorne here. Push the Marauders up to the middle. You have Scarbrand sit with them. Have one of the Chaos Halberds up there, and then have the Slaughter Guard and the other Chaos Warrior Halberd go to the number 1 or something. Because they'll hold those points easy peasy, and War Sphinxes and Archers can poke and nibble at Slaughter Guard and the Khorne Halberds, but really don't want to charge them. And you just, like, send your mobility, like Minotaurs and Fleshhounds, over to support the isolated Halberds and maneuver Scarbrand as needed. Oh, pretty good time. Never ever use your Breath Attack on single entities. Scarbrand's Breath Attack does nothing to them anyways. The best thing to use the Breath Attack on, actually, is either Cavalry that are just, like, chilling out here. The Breath Attack, like, cleaves through the units, kills a lot of models. Or you get up on the side of infantry units and shoot the Breath Attack down the length of them. You'll get, like, 30, 40 infantry kills and get a bunch of charge on Slaughter and Carnage. It's really nice. I would love to see this get reduced down to 200 kills instead of 300. 300 is just impossible. I've never seen somebody get that many kills as Scarbrand before. Gets a nice little kick in there, and is chewing through some Nekar Warriors, doing a little bit of work. Slaughter Guard gonna very quickly kill the Nekar Warriors here. Brutally disadvantageous fight for those guys. Sepulchral Stalker's getting some great shots on Scarbrand. You see the Horse Archers focus firing big time on our boy here. And the War Sphinxes are going after the infantry. Yeah, man, yeah. Ghost King's gotta get Scarbrand out of here. He's so squishy to shooting. This is why he's a huge risk of an investment. Skull Taker is almost always the better choice. If you don't want to go Skull Taker and you want to bring a big, scary monster, I actually really like Exalted Bloodthirsters against the Tomb Kings. Exalted Bloodthirsters can beat up on War Sphinxes pretty good. They're flyers, so they can get over the top of Tomb King formations pretty easily and land on top of Eyes of the Desert with Furies. And the two of them together can actually wear them out pretty fast. Furies alone can't kill the Sepulchral Stalkers, but with a little bit of additional AP with a big monster, they can do some hellishly effective work against a unit like this. Frontline going in Khorne's favor right now. Just get all these halberds moving forward. Get after the Eyes of the Desert. This is where you get your Rage Embodied. Beautiful cast there of it. Cetra locked in combat. Massive blows coming in from Scarbrand. See how much work he does. Wrathful Reaper, the reason that you would want to bring it is because you get 50% more weapon strength from Wrathful Reaper as it's popped. Those attacks against Cetra, you could effectively take off another 1,000 HP from him for all the damage that he already took. Scarbrand would have a little bit more work done there. Chaos Warrior Halberds looking pretty healthy. Necrocar Warriors just not up to the task there. The Khornate Infantry is pushing through now very effectively. Fleshhounds, great matchup for Fleshhounds. This is one of the matchups where Fleshhounds really shine. Because Skeleton Horsemen just get folded up by Hounds. Good shock damage, great weapon strength. You just need to make sure that your Fleshhounds don't get dogpiled by multiple Skeleton Horsemen, and they very easily chew through one after the other. It's really nice. Throwing Axe is coming in, going to be trying to get some damage down, and it looks like Cetra is going to be using a Sekhmet's incantation of the Skull Storm. Vortexes can actually do some good damage to Khorne Infantry, but it needs to have AP attached to it. Sekhmet's is just all non-AP damage, and Khorne Infantry just don't care. They got 110 armor. They're ignoring pretty much all of that damage. The Slaughter Guard taking even less. Look at the Slaughter Guard. 1,900 frickin' value on those guys. The Slaughter Guard, when they feast hard, man. They are really tough to wrangle. You can't fight them in melee combat because their stats are so high and they have unyielding assault. They just chew through infantry. They're actually a great dual-purpose unit, believe it or not. Just because something has a bonus versus large doesn't mean that it can't also fight infantry. You can see how quickly they just rip apart the Eyes of the Desert. Getting in here with their halberds. Just a few attacks from those guys, taking them down one by one. Dropping them like flies. And they're going to anchor that number 2 really nicely. And Khorne's been holding on to that 2 cap very solidly. They've been playing off of the number 1 pretty nicely. Just distracting some of the Skeleton Horsemen. And they've got the Flesh Hounds that have disengaged and can support the number 2 now. Minotaurs on the field. Very scary to see. Horse Archers have used a lot of their ammo up too, so not a lot of safe ways to poke the Minos. No Eyes of the Desert to do it either. Shabti Greatbow's coming in, looking to shoot Scarbrand a bit. Doesn't have amazing value, but he's gotten one really good Rage Embodied, which I think more than makes up for the lack of value on him personally. It gave the Slaughter Guard and these Chaos Warrior Halberds an opportunity to fight the big monsters. This is going to be GG. You cannot charge Cetra into Minotaurs. Minotaurs destroy Cetra unless he has Neru's Incantation of Protection. They're just going to annihilate him. The spells that you want here for fighting Khorne is Jaff's. Jaff's Incantation for the weapon strength, and the upgraded version gives anti-large bonus. for 5 Winds of Magic stupidly cheap. You want this spell, and you want Nero's Incantation. Nero's gives 40% Fizz Res. The reason that you want that, even though Khorne can throw out a lot of units with magic damage, a lot of those units can't catch Cetra easily. It's very effective for mitigating the throwing axes, amazing at mitigating Minotaur damage. Some Minotaurs rip apart the Sphinxes, dude. Ouch. Oh my god, big ouch. Marauders just fighting some skeleton horsemen over here. Marauders of Khorne are a really strong unit in some matchups. Not in every matchup. But just the fact that this Minotaur, or not the Minotaur, oh my god, this Marauder unit with their Frenzy active have over 40 melee attack means they're excellent against other chaff units. They beat the living stuffing out of Skeleton Warriors. Easy peasy. Even Skeleton Spears can't hold against Marauders. It's a really tough matchup for Tomb Kings as a result. You don't want to bring too many Marauders. You don't want them to be your only frontline units, which is why I like the Slaughter Guard and the other Chaos Warrior Halberds that we've seen here. They have done a really good job of holding and getting decent value. The Slaughter Guard especially have more than up-traded. I mean, they have 2,600. They cost 18, so you may not be doubling their value, but they've killed some very high-impact units, and they're brutalizing the Kefir Guard with the Minotaurs right now. Minos is 1,600 as well. Just stupid cost-effective value from everything that Khorne is throwing out. The only thing that was struggling earlier was the Furies. But here in the late game, they're getting much better engagements. You can see the Furies with a big AP character can very quickly take down the Ushapti, because what happens is the big characters do good splash damage to the Ushapti or the Sepulchral Stalkers, and then the Furies have good enough melee attack that they're actually able to get their AP weapon strength in, and they make up the last little bit of HP needed to actually kill the models, and it stacks up really nicely on top of one another. This is GG. Tomb Kings cannot win from this position. There is absolutely no way. Tomb Kings are one of the best factions at fighting from ahead on value, and they're probably one of the worst from behind. They're super reliant on their missiles for value trading. Just dreadful in melee combat, honestly. Especially against a heavy armor faction like Khorne. Slaughter Guard are still here, and they're still running over everything right now. And yeah, that was a really good Rage Embodied. It rampages the Eyes of the Desert and the Nakar Warrior. Scarbrand gets into the middle of them, then you can follow up behind that with throwing axes, and the Slaughter Guard and the Flesh Hounds, as you can see. Flesh Hounds with 718 value, decent performance from them. Skull Reapers coming in. I don't know what the deal is with Skull Reapers. Skull Reapers are like the ultimate slot machine unit. They come in and they either do amazing or they do absolutely nothing. There is no in-between with them. I don't know yet which matchups they're best in, but I've seen them double their value, or I've seen them get like 200 value. $2,200 Mino. Throwing axes is some good value. It's just a very clean Khorne build. Like, not too heavy into the Furies of the Flesh Hounds. In fact, only one Flesh Hound. Honestly, acceptable because they have good enough mass. They're just really good for, like, nibbling at skirmish units or countercharging skellies. Bring too many Flesh Hounds, then you can lose out on some of your other better tools as Khorne. It seems like Khorne infantry builds have become the norm again. Khorne swings back and forth between playing really deep into their infantry formations, going really deep into like mass mobility, or doing much more balanced builds. It seems right now like going more infantry heavy for the opener, and then just bringing all your mobility in behind that is working out best for folks. which is nice. You know, Khorne has a very well-defined faction identity, and it's nice to see them kind of play around that. The only gripe I have with Khorne right now is that Skulltaker is just miles better than all the other lords. I don't know if Skulltaker needs a nerf, per se. Like, maybe you could... I don't know what you would do to balance Skulltaker. Probably lower his melee attack and give him a better bonus versus infantry, so he just isn't quite as crazy against everything like he is right now. And the other Khorne lords could either get a little cheaper, or they could just get more HP or something. Right now, you just see Skulltaker because he's just impossible to kill on his damn motorbike. He's just such an obnoxious nightmare. Yeah, that's true. The Skull Reapers and the ROR Brutes of the Hound are a very similar unit, and the Brutes of the Hound are actually unbreakable, unlike the Skull Reapers. So there's not really a point in taking the 100 gold more expensive unit that can rout, when you can just do the unbreakable Berserkers. Extremely disappointed if he survives the next balance patch unchanged. He's really the only thing carrying Khorne's win rate. If Khorne had to bring their other lords as they are, then Khorne would probably have the lowest win rate right now. They have to address that if they're going to nerf Skulltaker. I don't know what CA's aversion is to just making the Khornate lords stronger. I mean, they're decent. But it's very rare that they're putting in, like, game-changing performances. You know, like, the fact that Skulltaker is so hard to kill is really the best thing about him, mostly just because the other Khornate units are really the best part of the roster. Like, Valkia can do some really good work, but she's a little squishy on the HP. She can get bogged down because she has no mass. I mean, I don't know what possessed CA to give Azazel 2000 mass when he's like the exact same size as Valkia in-game. She's got like almost half the amount he does. Really goofy. She cannot escape from anything. I really don't want to have to go back to the days of bringing Valkia and just endlessly running around with her and never being able to fight anything, and you mostly just land her in the middle of fights and try and like drag your opponent's lords into a bunch of minotaurs or something. Arbol is good. Arbol's got the Flesh Hound. He's got a lot of mobility. He's got cap weight. He's got the explosion. The Chaos Spawn summon is honestly kind of a joke. The condition for casting it really is not that good. Like, under 20% health. By the time you're casting it, you've already won the fight, basically. It's good on stuff like Chaos Dowie Trains. Like, units that are unbreakable that can still do damage when they're that low HP, but I don't know. I play Khorne a ton, so I've got lots of thoughts on them. Not all of them good, you know? Like, never listen to a main about what units need nerfs, honestly. Because you will get the most skewed possible exchange and explanation of what they think is needed. What do we want to do? How much time do I have left? I'm gonna do 2 more replays. We'll get Bird versus Rika, and then Lazuka and Cowboy Bob. I think these are semis games. I don't think anybody posted the final, which is a bit of a shame. It would be really nice to see that. Mazda Money with his Pokemon speech there. Buddy is just repeating his name. Anyways, he's rocking in. He's got Roiling Skies and Apotheosis, Net, Ruination of Cities, and Banishment with Shield of the Old Ones. Cold-Blooded comes Bound. He's also got the banner. So he's like pretty maxed out on his little floating mobility scooter here. Just wants to throw down all of his support magic. Very impactful, honestly. He does a ton of work against a variety of targets with the spell kit. Very hard to approach and snipe Mazda when he can just net you, and then you can just nuke whatever is attacking him with Razordons, Salamanders, or whatever ranged the Lizardmen happen to bring. Ruination of Cities is very, very devastating to infantry formations, especially tightly packed ones like this. These Saurus, the Legion of Chaqua, and the Cudgel Saurus Warriors need to be real careful. There's not a great answer for the Shredder of Lustria, though. This is going to be the determining factor for Bird. And the Life Slan, obviously going to be able to do a lot of healing with the Regrowths and Earthbloods. Add on to the fact that he's got the Spell Mastery for them both, so he's got a little bit of extra amplitude on them. Should be pretty easy to keep this big ol' monster alive. Ancient Sally is available for... oh, actually, Bird is playing Mazda Mundi. Rika is the one bringing the Shredder of Lustria. That's like classic mirror match shenanigans, getting confused as to which side is which, but you just pay attention to the actual banners. Rika is trying to approach the Shredder, gets a little too close to Mazda Mundi. Netta Amontok is only 100 meters, but 100 meters is a lot farther than you think. You really need to respect that spacing. Very unfortunate to watch the Shredder get netted here like this. And that Ruination of Cities just destroyed the Skink cohort, did massive damage to the Legion of Chaqua. Good response with the Banishment, though. Bird's Saurus Spears here getting roasted really badly right now. Probably going to break in just a moment. We do get a nice Earthblood over the top of those units for Rika, but Shredder of Lustria is on the retreat, just absolutely filled full of fire damage from the Umbral Tide. We've also got Feral Troglodyte over here with its anti-large AP shots. These Troglodons are pretty nasty. I've seen some Lizard players bringing these a little bit more often with nets, and they can throw down some serious DPS as long as you don't just let them get jumped on in melee combat. They're pretty weak at actually doing damage in melee, is like their one drawback. Troglodons do have pretty good melee defense, though, so they can tank a little bit. So, Bird's infantry gets beat up pretty damn quickly. Really not doing all that well in terms of the holding potential on those guys, but not really that surprising considering what they're up against. Rika pressing into the backline now. Bird with the cohort of Sotek could definitely get on top of the Legion of Chaqua and end these guys pretty quickly. Umbral Tide for Rika getting caught up on some Skink cohorts. Skink Skirmishers for Bird are in the backline too. They could definitely get in here and use their blow darts to drag down this very, very powerful ROR. Oh, the Colossadon Hunters just dragged to their doom. The sweet siren song of Mazda Mundi. And I guess the Bastiladon Solar Engine pulls them into the range of Bird's Umbral Tide, and they just get roasted, and yeah, that's going to be a GG. Rika realizing that the healing is just not going to be able to outpace all the damage, and that he's being pulled into his own doom and oblivion here, so very dominant win for Bird. Actually have some skinks up top here, capping the point away. Special operations skink units, man. The skink skirmishers don't have stalk or the missile resistance that chameleon skinks do, but it doesn't really matter because for what, 450 gold or 425 gold for the skink skirmishers, just load out on them, and easily one of the most cost-effective skirmish pieces in the game. The only weakness to the Skink Skirmishers is their low HP pool and lack of armor. They just get folded up by a stiff breeze if they get hit by something like a Colin Spear Rider or an Empire Knight. Those are usually the units that you want to use to chase those guys down. Rika was never really able to develop that out, though. Brought the Rev Crystal and the Colossodon Hunters in first. And that just really didn't pay off. Look at the value on the Umbral Tide here for Burt. 1,800 on them. Troglodon with about 800. Solar Engine was doing a lot of debuffing and steady, consistent damage. Salamander was poking at a bunch of stuff. Not 100% sure where it was focused. And Mazda with 1,000 here. Just not nearly the same efficiency. And the Shredder was just bullied. 300 value Shredder. It was definitely on the way out by the time we saw the tap out there. The Khorne Elite units are all overtuned for melee, but they have no way to survive good engagements at range. They're too slow. Slaughter Guard and the Bloodweight Berserkers just get turned into goo by good range pressure. Nerfing Cloak of Skulls. That would be a good nerf. Cloak of Skulls is really crazy. Like, keep everything except for the immune to flanking, because the immune to flanking is really the break point on that. If you got rid of the immune to flanking on Cloak of Skulls, then Skulltaker would not be nearly as good. He would be way easier to kill. It's just how stupidly tough he is to kill in melee combat, that's the problem. Because he's pretty vulnerable at range, too. That's why everybody plays Kite into Khorne. Like, if you're playing melee into Khorne, then you're just making it harder on yourself. If you just go Kite, and you just run around and never let them interact with you, then that's how you need to beat them. We'll probably do one more. That game was crazy short. We'll see how long this game is. So we got Lazuka here versus Cowboy Bob. And Bob did adjust the build. Came in with the double Terrorgeist last time he was playing the Greenskins, which, I mean, it wasn't going badly for him. He just couldn't maintain any presence on the ground. And realizing that has gone from the Master Necromancer with the zombie summons, I would bet. And then just maxed out on the Graveguard with the Sword and Board, which I think is a pretty good call. Because Greenskins don't bring a lot of AP infantry, usually. Most of the time, they're just bringing a bunch of Orc Boys, or they're doing, like, Biggins, kind of like what Lazuka is doing right now. Graveguard can definitely handle anything short of a Black Orc with great weapons. Even there, that's going to be pretty tough for the Black Orcs, just because of the survivability of the Graveguard. Gorbad and the Black Orc Big Boss, the biggest Pigus, I guess is what you would call it. They're coming in here with their War Shrieks. I actually kind of like the duo here. Gorbad does have 6,200 HP, so I think it would take a little bit too long for Spirit Leech to wear him down. With the Black Orc Big Boss supporting him. These Big Bosses have crazy good stats, by the way. I mean, 55 and 55 at base with the Great Leader. They're at 65, 65. Pretty nasty duo there. Nice Gaze into Gash out of the Master Necromancer. Just point blank into Gorbad. 1,300 HP off of Bad Boy here. I do like the Giant inclusion, too. Giants usually just get maneuvered around, but against a really slow faction, and especially against the Corpse Carts. Corpse Carts, even slower than a Giant. Giants with 700 weapon strength can definitely put some serious pressure on these Corpse Carts. White Kings, though, next to these Corpse Carts, will be a pretty good squad for protecting it against the Giants. Because Giants only have 50 armor. They can definitely put some damage down on the White Kings, but with all the healing that the Vampire Counts have, 2 White Kings should actually beat a Giant eventually. Be a pretty close battle, but I feel fairly confident that would go in the favor of the Counts. Sternsman moving in, using that regen and Corpse Cart healing just to stay topped up. Getting tossed around by the Hammer of Gork right now, but they're engaged in melee against the Savage Orc Biggins, and a little friendly fire as we just saw. Gonna probably dissuade any further targeting these guys. Just gonna bite the Greenskins in the ass worse, honestly. I mean, you're not debuffing the Savage Orc Biggins, but the Sternsman, with all of the tankiness of the armor and the regen and a Corpse Cart by them, is probably just going to be a huge money sink, or a time sink, not really a money sink. Hammer Gork is fairly cheap. Teeth Robbers rolling through some zombies and getting stuck. Classic business for them. I mean, the Teeth Robbers are not quite as bad as they used to be, but they're really not that good of a unit. Dire Pack get in underneath of them. That's probably going to be good night for the Teeth Robbers. They get a little bit of damage on the Dire Pack, but now they're trapped up again, and the Dire Pack, great damage output against squishy 45 armor units, so GG for them. White King's pretty beat up. Gorbad and the Black Orc Big Boss have been putting some serious work on him. This is a mistake I see a lot of people, like a lot of newer people make with Vampire Counts. You want to actually spread the Corpse Carts out as much as possible. I mean, they're a pretty small buff radius of 35 meters. You want as much coverage across the front line as possible. Both of them in the same area together, like, you don't stack the heals at that point. You're just getting the benefits of one Corpse Cart. So you might as well get the other one on the other side here. Just pay attention to where they're sitting over the course of the game. Fellbat's leaning in here, not actually stopping the Hammer of Gork firing, I don't think. A few of them are shooting. A little bit back and forth, but the Fellbats are distracting at the very least. You got a Graveguard going to the number 3 back here, grinding down the Savage Orcs. Brutally awful fight for the Greenskins right now. The wall will make it a little bit less atrocious of a trade, but Graveguard are going to win out there for sure. The Greenskins have a pretty tough time resecuring their back point when they're also struggling in the middle pretty bad. Black Orcs holding really nicely. The Graveguard, though, are slowly dragging those guys down. Gonna get some more buffs on the Savage Orcs. Really nice. Here we go. Hitting multiple units, but one of them's really low, as is. Giant getting the melee attack is awesome, because it's gonna plaster the Cryptars here. Cryptars are getting some decent value against it, but that weapon strength from the Giant is just so wicked. 700 is no joke, and even though it's getting debuffed by poison, it's still got 595, 74 melee attack. That's a little much to ask right there. We actually see Gorbad and the Black Orc Big Boss killing the White Kings. White Kings have been getting steamrolled this game. Cowboy Bob is losing momentum here rapidly.
The foe's victory point.
He's got a few things going his way. He's got some Graveguard, running some Savage Orcs off into the distance. Savage Orc Biggins out here pretty beat up. Master Necromancer doing his best to hang in here. What is this? Wind of Death? Ooh, alright, it's pretty decent. Probably still not worth it, though. I'm never, ever gonna admit that Wind of Death is a good spell. I think that you're almost always better off with anything else. You can do basically the same thing with Gaze and a Gash from the flank. Overcasted Gaze and a Gash. Just like move your Necromancer from here and hit the flank of this Black Orc. Gaze and a Gash will do about as much damage, if not more. Depends on the missile penetration on the spell nowadays, but last time I saw it was like chunking half HP out of elite units, which is pretty filthy. We're actually seeing some corpse cart micros trying to escape from the giant right now. But it's running right into Gorbad and the big boss. White King barely hanging on for dear life. It's got 500 HP. Look at that, man. Corpse cart getting smacked up. Does Gorbad have Mangler? No, he doesn't. He's just got the buffs here. Oh no, but gets trapped by these Cryptars here. Uh-oh. 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 You know, it's all well and good. You got the value lead, you think you're doing good, and then your Lord goes down against the undead, and suddenly, just one or two terror-causing units can just wreak havoc upon your leadership, and have your entire army running. Greenskins have got the Savage War Boys in here. They don't have an answer for the Karen Wraiths, though, and Karen Wraiths are a decent unit nowadays. For their price point with the Frostbite, decent speed, leadership is a little low, but they've got great weapon strength. It's all AP, too. Gonna be a great answer for Savage Boar Boys. The Boar Boys are reliant on this Fizz Res. Magic damage from the Karen Wraiths going right through them, so hot knife through butter right now. And the Corpse Cart survives! Oh, that's huge! Oh my god, and Terror Routes immediately. So, Boar Boy's running, you've got the Orc Shaman breaking at the same time. Really, it's just the Giant against the entire world right now. Part of the reason for that is that a bunch of units had to come up to recap the number 3, and it's given a lot of time for Bob to just focus in on the bottom objective here. Master Necromancer is just chortling to himself. Very safe, having a good old time. Got about 600 value, you know, he got most of that from the Wind of Death and the Gaze and a Gash that he's dropped. Now you just, you know, fly him around, avoid damage, try to keep him alive so that your late game survivability with all the heals is just gonna be way too much to grind through, I think. You can see the value is starting to equalize from Cowboy Bob. And again, the Karen Wraiths, especially without Fist of Gork from the Shaman, are going to be impossible to kill. Like, the Fizz Res here, 55%, it doesn't guarantee that ethereal units can just beat up on anything without magic damage. There's definitely ways that you can wear these guys down. They really don't have that much HP, but you just keep them engaged here and just kind of stuff units back for the time being, and then reinforce behind with like Graveguard and whatnot. Or you can do this. Really nice call. Cowboy Bob pulling the Karens back through the Sternsmen. Both of these units are about to get stuck on a wickedly durable Graveguard. Oh my god, and then you combo it with an overcasted Invo. That's filthy. What? That's micro right there. That's smart. You get that heal, you can just flank around, get a rear charge, and guarantee an immediate terror route, probably. Or you can come in support against these Boar Boy Biggins. You don't really have a lot protecting the number 1. So maybe a little bit of mobility helping out back there could wind this game down in your favor. Bob with a decent amount of supplies in the bank. We've got the Dire Pack moving up. Another Graveguard moving in. The Graveguard have value traded decently well. The Sternsmen got bullied a lot worse than I thought they would. I thought they would hold a little bit better, but there's a lot on top of them. Giant and the heroes and Savager Biggins with all the buffs. Been getting those very consistently, making a big difference. Trying to pop Here We Go on the Savage Orc Boar Boys, but they break a little too quickly. Probably should have just focused it over here for a guaranteed cast. Also would have hit the Giant and the Big Boss, which would have been something. I mean, this is just an interminably bad position to be in. Like, your units are starting to get surrounded by terror-causing ethereals. You've got all of your speed getting debuffed into the absolute pits with the poison and frostbite. No real way to disengage at this point, and just having to grind into all this. All these Cryptars with their regen, very low damage onto the Karen race, and then just annoying zombie summons underneath it all, as even more buffering is just nightmarish. This is where you can, like, even have leads on vampire counts and be losing horrifically because they just never give up. And then cause so many disruption problems for your frontline engagements that you just can't handle without ITP. There's ITP with the Rabble Rouse, which is awesome. But it's not really mattering with the Cairn Wraiths getting on the rear and getting those leadership debuffs. And then just the damage output in general from these guys has really been wearing on a lot of these characters and units. Another really nice Gaze into Gash on Gorbad. He's trying to do what he can. I don't... Yeah, there's just not enough time. Even if you won decisively here in the middle with the Broken Tusk Mob, which I really don't think is even going to happen. You got a great intercept from the Devils here. Dire Pack were on the way in. Even if you did win here, probably just send this Graveguard to the home objective and just bunker up there. Not to mention the one that's capping the home objective for the Greenskins right now. Honestly, this back pressure kind of won the game for the vampire counts. Because that early game was going pretty well for the Greenskins, but the second they had to divert a bunch of units up top here is when they really started to fall behind in the middle. By the time they were reconsolidated here, it was just out of their control at that point. They'd lost too much momentum, and the counts just feast upon the mortal souls of people who are not prepared for, like, blob busting. Apparently not. I was a little bit surprised. I thought that with the heals and their HP pool, just fighting together in a 2v1, they'd be able to do it, but oh well. It's good to know. Okay, so, yeah, Wind clears Chaff, Archers, and Berserkers. Gaze clears Elite Infantry. Makes sense. Yeah, what's up with Vargulfs, Maximilian? Why do they not hit as hard as it feels like they should? Like, Vargulfs, of all the single entities in the game, seem to hit the least hard for their price point. And you look at them on paper, and they're not even bad. Like, they've got good stats for 1,400 gold. They've got immune to flanking and 50 melee attack, 42 melee defense. I guess their weapon strength is pretty low. That might be why they underperform so badly. That's gotta be it, right? I mean, the charge bonus is solid. A ton of health. Leadership is kind of bad, I guess. I don't know, man. Never see that coming in and being a problem, though, for the Vargulfs. That makes sense. I really want to see CA do something to make it so that these bigger monsters can hit stuff that isn't just directly in front of them. Because, one of the reasons that I've noticed why stuff like Bloodthirsters are so bad... Like, Bloodthirsters actually do have good damage output, but the problem is once there are other units mixed in around the single entities that they want to fight, they can only hit stuff that's directly around them. They don't get any kind of ability to utilize these big axes that they have, right? Like, they have no reach, so if there's two, like, infantry models between a Bloodthirster and an Iron Demon, for example, they cannot hit the Iron Demon. So it seems like, for a lot of single entities, that's the reason why they're so inefficient. Because Bloodthirsters in 1v1s actually beat a lot of other monsters, but they just don't do anything in actual multiplayer games. Because there's too much chaos, and they're very poorly coded with the animations. It'd be really nice to see some of those units get some kind of benefit of having these, like, huge weapons that you would think would allow them to, like, cleave through and hit targets that they're near and theoretically have more than enough reach to actually get, but for whatever reason are just hard-coded and not be able to hit. There's more than like one model between them. It's crazy. Yeah, Squigs and Flappas, definitely really good to have against vampire counts. Even though counts have tons of mass, that can kind of muck up the works for chariots and whatnot, just because both of those units are so cheap, the Squig Herd and the, oh my god, the Pump Wagons. Just because those are both so cheap, it's kind of hard to fill out the entire battlefield and stop your zombies from getting run over, so I agree. I think those are both incredibly useful units for breaking up the counts formations. Yeah, getting rid of some leadership on Skulltaker would also be great. Because he got a lot. And Skulltaker with the 80 leadership on his bike at base, I mean, you're getting an extra 12 from his buffs from Revel in Slaughter and then Totem. Skulltaker is basically unbreakable at that point. So if they lowered him down to 70 leadership, that could be a good good change, because that's about where the Khorne Herald is, right? Yeah, Khorne Herald on the Blood Throne still has, like, the same buffs, but he's not nearly as strong. Just because he doesn't have as much weapon strength, melee attack, the leadership is lower. It's just wild how much, like, one or two items or abilities can just, like, totally flip a unit from being, like, mediocre at best, which is what I would call the Herald on the bike, to being an outright freaking nuisance, like Skulltaker is. And you can literally kit him out with everything. Locus of Fury is the only ability he has that is, like, borderline bad. Even there, if you use it and time it correctly, you can still get some pretty good value for you. But just these two abilities especially. Like, something's gotta give between the Cloak of Skulls and the Slayer Sword. Like, Slayer Sword is just a wicked self-buff. I mean, he just munches through everything. And then also weakening your opponent's weapon strength for the one-on-one, plus Bloody Onslaught on top of that. What the hell were they thinking? Yeah. The Acid Burp is really strong. I've seen people bring it against the vampire counts, and it's done some good work, but the Colossal Squig's problem is low armor. Like, one well-positioned Blood Knight would shut that down so hard. Maybe the only reason I would be afraid to bring the Colossal Squigs. But Vampire Counts players don't bring the Blood Knights too often. Usually just pack it out with cheaper options. I personally do love bringing Blood Knights. That's just a me thing, though. Alright, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all coming in and checking it out. I will be streaming the season opener tomorrow. Haven't really been inspired to play a whole lot, but, you know, since there's a new season, why not jump in at least for one tournament just to see how I feel. For the future, I'll be doing the weekend streams. Probably not a whole lot else. I'm doing some reading and working on some other projects in my spare time. So, I'll just be around. I'll be in and out. So, check it out tomorrow, guys. Till then, peace out. Take care. Stay safe. Shit's crazy. Pretty much everywhere. So, you know. Keep an eye out for your friends and neighbors. Peace.